People crowded around the body of the main character. The rate of infection is high, and if the body is left in this state, it will begin to decompose, which means it will be impossible to resurrect her. The detachment's goal was to exterminate Kunturna, a demonic dragon that had disrupted the world order. There were great warriors from different worlds, Hania Jamil Gador and Zephyr. They are all sorry for the loss of their friend, the leader of the entire company. The hero of those difficult times, and also Arin's only close friend, is Elkinaz. Leading the squad, he led everyone to the lowest levels of the demonic cave, but something went wrong. At that moment, when the man was about to deal the decisive blow to the demon, the girl noticed the dragon's breath. There was no choice and no time left. Aaron pushed Elle away and absorbed the breath sphere, which was a poisonous gas. Before entering the state, it is stored in small spheres. At that moment, all that was left was to sacrifice one person for the sake of all the others more important ones. The heroine decided that it would be her. At that moment, the girl did not think about anything, only about friends. She doesn't have the strength to speak, but she asks if the dragon is dead. Jamil nods his head but still screams, asking why he needs to simply sacrifice himself like that. There was no time to install the shield. The friend thinks that everyone should have leaned back together because even that would have been easier. Virgo can't hold it in anymore, so she cries. They promised that if they died it would be all together, but now this is not the case. Reassurances don't work. It seems that the poison has already affected the vision because the faces of the friends were previously much clearer than now. Sensitivity also disappeared. Arin asks why Elkinas is not coming. She wants to look at a handsome man, at least for the last time. The mood is great. The girl did not think that she would be able to feel happy in the last moments until her death. Guys have a responsibility to live a good life. The eyes closed, and that was the last moment left in my head. The body seems to be weightless, falling down somewhere. The heroine woke up but does not understand how this happened because she recently fought on the battlefield. The group fought the dragon Kunturna, and she certainly remembers how during the last attack she protected the others and died. It is not clear what is happening. The place is strange, but the energy of spirits is clearly felt there. The world tree can be seen in the distance. Coming forward, the heroine notices someone she did not expect to see. Certainly the dragon Lord Zephyr. They had not seen the sorceress for a long time. As it turned out, 80 years have passed since the last meeting on the battlefield. Considering what an abandoned nest should be like, we can say that the place where we managed to get there is quite clean and cozy, as if people live there. It turns out that Zephyr has unfinished business in the new world. Stopping the blonde, the friend asks to explain. The man secretly hid the soul of the maiden from everyone when she died. A spirit sphere appeared from her mouth, and she was about to embark on a journey with joy. The young man wanted to give her peace under the tree protected by dragons. The sorceress definitely deserved it. The girl was the only one who was given love by the other spirits, so it was impossible to let her leave. Even though the heroine was a spellcaster, this fact does not give the right to rest in such a place. She is outraged. Zephyr, being the protector of the tree, violated many of his duties in order to bring his acquaintance there. It's strange that the lady survived. The world tree demanded the man's blood, and he thought that this was the price for peace of mind, so he gave it. Instead of what was expected, the plant began to create a sphere of branches and leaves in its blood. It embraced the soul. The tree seemed to want to revive the newcomer, and after a while a body began to form, and after 80 years, Erin was born. Compared to her previous body, the beauty has changed a lot in appearance. They hand her a mirror to check. Surprised, the lady examines the reflection. This can be called the experiment of Zephyr and the plant, which turned out to be extremely successful. In people's minds, a friend is a father, and a tree, on the contrary, is a mother. After these words, a mirror that was lying on the table flies at the blonde. The man decided to briefly tell what happened over almost 100 years. The brunette approves the point with brevity so as not to take up time. Warrior Elkinas Pontiac has gone crazy. As the scion of a family, he captured the heart of a dragon, rose to the level of a demigod, and gained immortality. This is great, but the lady wonders why the boy went crazy. What will be said will be shocking. Elle took Kunturna's egg and is now taking care of it until the baby hatches, which is about to be born. The girl doesn't understand how no one stopped him. His comrades, including Zephyr, were against it. But he did not listen. All living things tried to dissuade Elkinas from getting rid of the egg of the demonic creature, but he saw something in it. When the Duke of Pontiac began to apply pressure, Elkinus killed his father and became the head of the family, and the 6th squad of knights sent as a warning by the Denbine Empire were also killed. The lady's eyes display an undisguised fear that cannot be contained, and she is afraid of what will happen next. The brunette does not understand why her friend needs this very egg and why he will grow the creature inside. He opposed everyone. The man guesses the reason for all this because of Kunturna's ability to transcend time and space. Elkinus wants to go back to the past and change something so that the present will also be better. Obviously, the guy was crazy for deciding to go back there. The time now is also excellent and calm, so there are even more questions. Zephyr takes the most obvious as an example. Elle wants to prevent the beauty's death, which has already occurred. The woman turns away. She firmly believes that what is said has no meaning because a man does not need such things. Everyone is preparing for death, and this cannot be avoided. This is understandable even to a child because each of them swore an oath before going to the cave. The guys pledged to sacrifice their lives if necessary, and therefore there is no logic at all in their friend's actions. Jamil comes to mind. This is the girl's good friend. A thief with sky-high self-importance and Elkinus's lover. The question arises about a friend, and as it turns out, she died after devoting her life to managing a criminal community. Zephyr wonders why the girl needs such information, but she is sure that Pontiac would have listened 100% to Jamil's words. They liked each other, so the lady wants to know if there was a wedding. Again, the answer is no, with a contemptuous expression on his face. It seems the couple broke up. If Elkinus had done something like this in front of a friend, she would have thrown him away too. It has never been seen that a person called a great warrior raised the offspring of a demonic dragon. Zephyr's look is strange. He asks the sorceress to continue speaking. The guy apparently wasn't very lucky at first. As the young man already said, there was nothing between the couple. They had a good relationship and spent every night training, so the lady is surprised. Elkinus was not afraid to entrust his protection to his friend, but if Aaron had asked, she would have even been entrusted with his life, which is much more important. The lady agrees, but she saw how the two constantly whispered in private, and every time the guy's face burned. The reason behind the strange behavior cannot be told, and at least for now, it is impossible. Elkinus will have to independently tell what exactly was in his head at the time of what was happening around him. When the beauty first saw her friend, he was the shortest boy in the village. The girl's mother was a herbalist, and every time they went shopping, they saw him being beaten by other children. One day, the brunette called her Uncle Knight to make the others run away, and then she was glad that they bought into the provocation. Smiling, the little girl extended her hand, saying that the young man was badly injured. If he allows, the wounds need to be examined. The girl cured her friend and took her to the forest to introduce him to the spirits whom only she saw, although this is not important. That's how they became friends. The couple walked everywhere holding hands, and they were never lonely with him. One day, Elkinus disappeared. According to rumors, he turned out to be a descendant of the Duke of Pontiac, so he was forced to leave. The next meeting took place 12 years later, a year after the death of the girl's mother. She turned 22 that year. The man apologized for leaving Aaron. He told how he tried with all his might to achieve recognition of the family, but the Pontiac family did not recognize him. In addition to the confession, the relatives also restricted the guy in everything, so he had no opportunity to return back. The girl hoped that her friend could calmly stay with her, but as it turned out, this would not happen because he needed to leave again. The order was given to catch a dragon in the Denbane Empire, and this is the same Kunturn, which makes the mission almost unrealistic. It was for this reason that the boy came to see him. Someday he will return again because he will definitely remain alive. Jumping up, the maiden asked to go together. She would definitely be useful since she is a spellcaster who communicates with spirits. Before the mother left the world, she told the child about her outstanding abilities which were hidden. The brunette resolutely refused help. He has no right to endanger anyone else but himself. Even if the beauty remains at home, this does not guarantee her safety, and more importantly, you cannot leave your friend completely alone in such a situation. In his entire life, Irene did not have a single friend except Pontiac. You can't let someone go when they finally meet for the first time in so many years. The girl tearfully promises that she will not become a burden. Walking side by side with her friend, she will also gain strength that will help in battle. A smile appeared on the Duke's face quite quickly. He looks at the girl with a loving gaze, getting down on one knee. Throughout his life, the hero has met the kindest and bravest person, who is Irene, and this is the honest truth. The one and only friend must remain close, and they can live life hand in hand, facing death together. Zephyr, after listening to the whole story, turns away. If he ever hears something like that again, his ears will bleed. It's worth thinking about how the kindest child could suddenly become the enemy of the entire continent. The information doesn't fit in my head. The sorceress keeps talking about the kindness of the guy, but his character does not at all correspond to the description, as in the opinion of his friend. With the exception of Irene, the Duke behaved simply disgustingly towards everyone else. The brunette is trying to force her not to say anything bad about the guy. She's seen the man practice etiquette and bend the knee even to a hillbilly like her, so she hopes he's the best. Zephyr is surprised that such behavior could be taken as an offer of cooperation. Spellcasters seem to have the wind in their heads almost always. Virgo asks about Hanaya, and Gedor Beauty became the head of the Altima Church and eventually died at the age of 97. Gedor could not convince Elkinas and returned to his homeland, taking the place of the leader of the tribe. Everyone except Pontiac is fine. The sorceress drinks and is angry that her friend's situation is so bad. She cannot be happy about this news and almost begins to cry. The girl decides to go to the man. The best solution would be to tell the truth and at the same time dissuade them from the egg venture. Even if Elkinas takes good care of the creature, if there is even one chance of this being born, the maiden will personally get rid of it. We must not allow the tragedy of 100 years ago to happen again. I can still see that horror and blood before my eyes. Zephyr doesn't know if the guy will believe him, but the heroine is confident since she is his only friend. He recognizes her at first sight. It seems that the lady has not yet realized it, but what exactly is unknown? It's better to go and experience everything for yourself without explanation. The man will go with his girlfriend. Her human body is an important specimen that was created using dragon blood. Elkinas has no right to cut the girl apart. Since the blonde did not announce the end of the transformation, he can have as much appearance as he wants. Now everything has become clear. It all depends on the technology that dragons use to stay in the human world. For them, there are laws specifically regarding this skill. After one transformation, the dragon must either take a break for 1,000 years or interrupt the transformation. When using the spell again, it is worth taking the previous form so that nothing is broken. What Zephyr is doing is against the rules, but this time there is no other option. Decisions are made according to the Dragon Lord's personal assessment of the situation. The interpretation is beneficial only to the guy, but he is already discussing who he should become. The graph would be quite a good idea. Irene naturally will also become an aristocrat because the truth should not be used in a welcoming speech. To tell the truth, the girl would like to be a noblewoman. Tea ceremonies with beautiful settings are a dream. As it turned out, Irene is already a noblewoman because all members of the squad have learned titles. In connection with her honorable death, the heroine was posthumously glorified as the state magician of the empire. The brunette does not believe that she was included in the capital's aristocracy and given one of the highest titles. With this view, you can take part in the management of the magic tower. This was not known, but it is not a problem. The choice stops at Count Imtern. He is raising a daughter and has never visited the capital, but has enough money to fit into the nobility. The girl is surprised that this time she will become Zephyr's daughter. Looking at the guy's face, she grimaces because he has changed. It seems that aristocrats can be seduced easily, and she wanted to say that everyone will like her friend. For the purpose of transformation, it is important that the ladies are kind. The hero must play the role of a father who brought his daughter to the capital, who dreams of a noble lifestyle and balls. The girl follows the tree. She heard that it brought her back to life, but wants to understand if there was some reason for this. The heroine promises that she will live her life as pleasantly as possible. She hopes that she can return here when she dies again. The world tree should allow you to stay nearby. The body stops listening, so this is how the plant will respond. The hero asks not to worry because it turns out that the lady will have the opportunity to fall asleep in his arms after the end. There is a smile on her face as the girl says goodbye. The count asks what she was doing all night, and as it turns out, she was near the foliage. The world tree gave leaves and showered with particles of light, which only shows that the sorceress is truly loved. The lady is aware of what can be done with the leaves because they will protect against bad people and help make a contract with stronger spirits. If you put at least one piece up for auction, the maiden will become rich. Zephyr grimaces, wondering why everyone loves this crazy woman so much. There is no point in talking further because on the first day after transformation, there are a lot of things that should be done as quickly as possible. They moved into an alley. The girl was scared almost to death, but it was also quite calm around. We managed to get to the richest city, the second most important in the Denbane Empire, and there the possessions of Archduke Elkinus Pontiac. In such a city, life is in full swing with no intention of calming down. He has changed a lot compared to the past. When the capital came under the control of the guy, the name was changed to Irene, and it itself grew in size. Preparing for a festival makes everyone around you more animated. The girl does not understand what exactly is being celebrated. A special event has arrived. This event commemorates the day when that same dragon was destroyed in battle. The seller behind offers to try kebab with kunturna meat. The sorceress is scared, but Zephyr assures that it is just a chicken. Once a year, the entire empire becomes extremely noisy, and among all the places it is in Irene that they celebrate on the greatest scale. The man points his hand at the statue in the square, which is like the heart of the city. She looks wonderful and familiar. The brunette takes a closer look at the one forged from stone. This reminds someone, but it's quite difficult to understand. The cloak and oak staff are terribly similar to those used by the heroine. Realization of what is happening quickly comes. The next shock is that the city is named after Irene, who is ready to scream because she was not expecting it. The girl has become the one everyone around misses performances, and chants are dedicated to wanderings with comrades. Spellcasters and naturalists consider Irene almost a sacred place where many come. The oak staff is kept in the duchy and exhibited once a year around this time. Everyone adores the lady and greatly mourns her loss. With any luck, it will be a grand comeback in 80 years. Virgo snorts, asking if they might be unlucky. The silence became scary, but the couple had already arrived at the Aller atelier, where the owner, a smiling girl, greeted them. The Count asks for several sets of clothes which can be made in the shortest possible time from the catalog. Zephyr says it's funny that what's most advantageous is in the shadow cast by the powers that be, so it's worth enjoying. Obviously, his character deteriorated even more. After a while, the sorceress was already exhausted. She was tired of trying on countless outfits that were all the same. Due to the man's disgusting sense of style, the fitting took much longer. Zephyr just chuckles, saying that he is sorry that the maiden does not understand anything about beauty. The owner of the atelier notices that the outfit suits her very well. Both the design and the color palette suited the girl perfectly. Looks like someone is really excited about going to Elkinus and its Irene. She seemed indifferent, but now she has changed her mind. It seems the couple will head straight to the estate. A snippet has arrived, which is something of a common way of transmitting information among dragons. During her campaigns, the lady often observed how dragons used letters. This is a snippet with a message from an assistant sent to the palace. The young man cast the magic of silence over the entire room. If no one but them should hear, you can say whatever you want. At the moment, there is a crimson dragon in the Empire, which, like the white one, has changed its appearance. It was reported that the reports you need to send when you go through shape-shifting for the first time suddenly stopped coming. The government asks you to find that red guy before he does something bad. The bad news will come after the sorceress tears off a leaf from the wreath and swallows it. Apparently, returning from the Elkinus estate will not be easy at all. After that, they set off on their way. An old friend has completely gone crazy, but that doesn't mean you don't need to visit him absolutely. They were just in the woods, but they crossed the Pontiac barrier. It is the very first fortification created by Elkinus after becoming the head of the clan. A barrier separates the estate from the city. During the festival, all sorts of rabble can wander around the duchy. After this, the young man clarifies whether the sorceress chewed the leaf well, just in case you can eat another one because there are a couple in place. The man offers his hand to help him get out of the carriage. The castle looks more expensive because the entire roof is celadon color. In fact, the Pontiac family is much more powerful than the imperial family that supposedly rules, and this is not surprising. An old man with gray hair greets those who must be tired from the journey while the lady looks around. The half-elf is still alive. He must be well over 200, which is strange. You should be careful with the snake because his soul is blacker than darkness. The newcomer says that he is offended by the comment about his soul, but he is also glad to meet the noblest being. In his entire life, the young man met only one living creature who called him a snake, with a dark heart, so it became clear at first sight. It seems that the lady standing next to her should also be included among the nobles. She looks like that very savior. Carlot introduces himself as the manager of the Pontiac family. Due to the ongoing meeting, it will not be possible to see His Highness until tomorrow. Such important guests can stay inside. For everything that happens next, Zephyr takes upon himself. Smiling, the half-elf nods, saying that he will show the newcomer inside. There is something else that was not told to the girl. As she knows the warrior has enough wealth and power to rival the imperial family, it would be preferable to destroy the person who threatens the king's family name, but the enemy is an immortal hero. Since assassination was impossible, the imperial family changed their position to manipulate Elenis. The king proposed a political marriage, but the answer was an unconditional refusal which was sent back. After this, the man took possession of Kunterna's egg, and whether it was the head of the clan or the imperial knight's death awaited all of them. The main ones did something stupid that you have to see right now. They are standing in front of the duke's door. Entering the hall, the girl smiles because even though they have not seen each other for a long time, the man has hardly changed, remaining the same as usual. The young man thanks the girl sitting next to her for returning alive, calling her Irene, as if in a fog. The girl sitting at the table is very similar to the warrior's previous appearance, but she does not understand what is happening in the hall. Perhaps this is something that the Denbane imperial family pulls off from time to time. The brunette asks to tell us more about the day when the group got rid of Kunterna. The virgin says that she was on the hill where she was picking wormwood. That day, the girl was called by name, and the man told her about the difficulties he had endured on the Pontiac estate. The heroine stands in horror. The brunette says that she felt sorry for her friend, so she cried, "Irene is sure that this did not happen, and this is all a subtle deception on the edge." The man thanks his friend for sharing her point of view. Memories of those days seem to come to life in my head. The only thing that doesn't add up is that the answers are too different from these living memories. The damned family has completely lost their conscience. Jamil's diary was discovered last year, and now everyone is saying something similar. The woman falls to the floor and asks for forgiveness. She didn't want to be caught cheating and didn't want to be extreme at all. The girl doesn't look a bit like the real Irene. They won't kill her, but they will have to tell Denbane that they failed again. After all that has been said, the brunette makes the beauty disappear until he changes his mind on this matter. The lady can't believe what happened. Now it became clear what kind of stupidity the Emperor was committing. The hero sees fakes in front of him over and over again, and each time he rejects the fake image that is right in front of him. Zephyr mentioned that Elenis was crazy, but he couldn't even imagine that it was to such an extent because he was obviously overdoing it. If something like this has been happening for several decades, it is impossible to remain sane. While the heroine was thinking she did not notice how the young man began to change clothes, she went about her business rather than admiring the bodies, so she turns away blushing a little. Carlot apologizes for bringing someone and says that these arrivals expressed an immediate desire to meet. The guy begins to list all those who have already disappeared or died and does not understand who is left and who is standing right in front of him. Understanding the first time, the brunette rushes forward, asking where the pathetic lizard he had been looking for a long time came from. The Count should give intelligible answers to all questions, so as not to die. Before her death, Hanaya revealed something interesting during her confession. The spiritual sphere of Irene disappeared somewhere. Zephyr must know where he took her because she disappeared almost immediately. There's no point in lying. The Virgin does not understand how this happened because the young man said that he took the light in secret from everyone, but it turns out that Hanaya noticed him. This was not surprising since a high-ranking cleric could not help but notice the soul that floated out. If the Count doesn't tell us what and how the Duke will finish him off, and it's not easy for him to keep his promise when it comes to something important, the murderous aura can be felt even from afar. Elenis is completely different from the very hero he used to know. The brunette hoped that her friend lived happily in a calm world where there were no demonic dragons or the like, but she was wrong. The body was cleansed by immersion in the source, but the sorceress could not be revived because the soul was no longer in the body. Zephyr grins. Pontiac should have looked better because the girl could have been next to him all this time. The heroine looks hopefully at her friend. She hopes that he will recognize the one with whom he shared joy and the friend he loved. The man is surprised that the young man is even more unscrupulous than the Denbane mongrels. They at least bothered with a similar appearance not like him. Since he couldn't do it, he had to bring a child who knew how to hide his trembling. It is clear that the friend is afraid of the girl, and she did not understand this from the very beginning. When in reality, Elkinas, unable to recognize the heroine, only looks with an icy gaze. This causes pain to squeeze the heart, making it difficult to breathe. The lungs seem to be closed. The feeling of resentment in the throat and the coldness of a friend interfere. This situation itself is terrible, and it is no longer possible to hold back. Tears stream down your cheeks without warning. The man notices that the beauty is sobbing in 3 streams, so he chuckles, and then asks what made her so upset literally out of the blue. As the serpent said, the lady may turn out to be a warrior. Judging by the traces of white magic, the girl is a spellcaster like Irene, and the external differences can be easily justified by the fact that she managed to get a new body from the world body. Surely the girl worked out everything down to the smallest detail since Zephyr brought her? They couldn't be wrong, so it was time to check everything somehow. Elkinas obviously sees the beauty as a new test subject. The lady is indeed a real Irene, but she's just not sure that she matches the image in his head. Having enjoyed the exam, which will drag on in the end, the young man will kill another person like the numerous girls he has met before. Sharply putting her hands forward, the beauty begins to assure that she is not Irene and has no idea who she is. The words sounded a little disrespectful, but it became clear too late. The lady herself says that she has no connection with the warrior, so the brunette is obliged to believe her. You can tell from his face that he is very confused. The girl is silent, but then reveals that she is Zephyr's daughter. He got married and had children, which of course is very difficult to believe. A friend asks who the heroine's mother is. I remember the words that in the minds of others, a tree is a mother. We have to say that she is now in the forest, but she is like a vegetable. The blonde is lost in horror, since to say such a thing about such a noble tree is absurd. It's difficult to explain everything in detail because it's too personal just for the family. The insignificant lizard may also have reasons to remain silent. The man wants to know why Irene came into the world almost immediately after her transformation. I would like to say that the heroine went to protect her friend, but this is impossible. The father said that we need to look at the recently hatched cub of that same dragon. The brunette has no idea what that even means. The kid was excluded from the Book of Dragons, so he no longer has anything to do with them, no matter how much he would like to. Zephyr intervenes. Still, he is a child of Conterna, and therefore they are obliged to monitor the possibility of his conversion into something similar. Nobody knows what might happen. If this were actually an ordinary cub, its first words upon birth would be, "You are not my mother," and then it would simply run away. If something happened, the sylphs would immediately inform the chief. The blonde recovered well while the lady was playing for time and now saves the day. No one will take the child, but it will be beneficial for the young man himself to show him to the world, because this way he can tell if something is wrong. It's almost mandatory. The friend agreed. The whole company follows through the castle. The brunette is only surprised that the baby is so big that he is kept in the outbuilding. The room looks quieter and more comfortable than the lady imagined. The child is lying somewhere in a crib, and you can immediately look at him. Even with the lights on, there is a feeling of disgust and anxiety that does not go away. It seems that due to their proximity to the source, the dragons feel the same way. Sinister energy comes from the offspring of Conterna, who's the cause of trouble. He is the reason why Elkinas is considered strange and why the guy is against the whole world. The woman is going to destroy that monster with her own hands. But what a surprise when she sees a real human child in the cradle. The baby gets to his feet and tries to look around. It seems that he is asking to be held, since he reaches out to the person standing next to him and demands love from him. The lady asks permission to hold the brunette, to which she is told that the Duke does not care. At the same second, Aaron picks up the body in his arms. The baby smells nice, which makes you literally want to eat it. He is small and cute, and you can't even tell that he is a descendant of that other creature. The heart still shrinks because the dark energy does not go anywhere. Only warm energy is felt from this child, so it becomes unclear where the darkness comes from. Zephyr asks the warrior if this is really the child that hatched from the egg 10 years ago. He tries to find out as many small details as possible that will help him understand. Although the man never announced what happened, everyone already knows. The friend thinks this is incredible and looks at the child once again. The child is definitely not a dragon, since they are not usually born in human form. The young man is 100% sure because it's immediately obvious. After birth, the dragon resembles a small lizard with wings. Developing rapidly after 5 months, he goes in search of a new place and begins to live independently. The blonde thinks about who this baby is if he doesn't belong to the species he was originally supposed to belong to. This question is complex. Most likely, the young man is a half-breed. Aaron doesn't believe it, because usually such children are born from a person whose body contains dragon seed. This species cannot hatch from an egg. A half-breed is carried by a human woman who falls in love with a dragon. Occasionally, there are cases when, having fallen in love with a man, the dragon himself lays human energy in an egg. Another option still exists. In this case, the empty egg is forcibly fertilized, covering it with its own power, which envelops it. Artificial insemination also matters. Moving his daughter aside, the Count asks the Duke if he spilled blood on the egg, thereby disrupting the development. Obviously, that's how it happened. Initially, the egg laid by Kuntern was an unfertilized dummy, but only then something happened. For 70 years of caring for him, no reaction was observed. So the man guessed what was wrong, and then, at his own request, invested magic and energy, sprinkling him with blood. This is how the child was born. I can't believe the warrior was going to go that far. The child should have been created in a different way, but not like this. Words are not for children's ears, so the lady asks to drown out the sounds. Energy envelops the couple, forcing them to plunge into silence without any unnecessary shouting. All thanks to the wreath from the World Tree, because even without making contact, the spirits act according to the will of the arenas, which already has a good effect on all actions. Even if the baby is still small and cannot understand the content of the conversation and does not realize that he was not welcome, this does not change anything. He should not know that he was born because it was beneficial for someone. The Count is only interested in one thing. There must be some possibility that the baby will awaken Kunturna's abilities when he grows up. The warrior has already made many mistakes. Aaron puts the boy on the bed and stands in the middle of the duo. It's time for them to stop and calm down because, be that as it may, the baby feels the prevailing atmosphere. Even for a half-breed, it is not normal to remain a baby for 10 years. It is worth watching him a little longer, since both his birth and the conception itself were extraordinary. There are many things in the world that are unknown to anyone, even the greatest. The boy should be looked after by a non-interested party representatives of the family. The idea makes good sense, and is something that can be used right away. An observer for a half-breed who can objectively assess what is happening is a good option. Zephyr's daughter will become that person, because she is a suitable candidate. The man doesn't save the day, and instead just says that he's going to stay in the castle too. The young man misunderstood because only his daughter remains. It's infuriating that she has the blood of a young man flowing in her, but due to necessity, so be it. She will be allowed to live on the estate. In the Pontiac house, you can stay as a nanny and teacher, and if the brunette does not agree, the conversation with her will be instantly ended at that very second. Whatever changes happen to the child, their race will not see it in the future. This is the last warning, so the girl does not want to go anywhere. Elkinas truly will not share goodness and love with anyone. The girl sincerely wants to give her friend the happiness and freedom that he deserves like no one else. I would like the unwanted child to also find a good life. The lady agrees to stay and work as a nanny. She doesn't dare refuse. The girl was taken into the room. She does not believe that she will live alone because the room is too spacious for a person. Carlo could easily have been wrong. These are the second largest rooms in the entire house because the Pontiac family is committed to taking care of its guests. It was lucky that a nanny was found, although the guy still had not heard the name Aaron. Virgo thinks for a few seconds she can't say her old name, but if you think about it, there was one option that she used to really like. The name Adele seems most appropriate. The heroine associates it with a beautiful aristocrat in a lush floral dress who attends tea parties. Smiling, the beauty introduces herself as she wants. The day has come when you can use what you once wanted to keep only in your dreams. The man nods and also introduces himself, although his name is already known. The child who will be cared for is named Renithus Irene Pontiac. The city name as a middle name sounds interesting. Adele had better rest, and so the door slams shut. Carlotte apologizes for his impudence, but wants to ask one important question that can't get out of his head. In fact, she and Mr. Zephyr are not daughter and father. This is noticeable, but the lady is amazed by her insight. Not even a day has passed, so it's not clear how the man knows everything. The girl tries to remain calm. It is better to pretend that it is not clear what we are talking about, from the moment they arrived at the estate until they met. His Highness, the couple did not refer to each other as father and daughter. The couple was not careful enough, so the young man noticed. The gentleman only used the nickname sorceress, and the only person he addresses like that is Lady Irene, who died. In her heart, the heroine is ready to burst into tears. He even realized what kind of personality she had, which was scary. This won't work because you should come up with a good excuse for this. Starting to talk, the lady assures that she also knows how to summon spirits, which is why she and Zephyr communicate like that. Carlotte nods, but it's clear that he doesn't believe it. If you don't close your mouth, he will only refuse more suspiciously. The brunette makes a sweet face and asks never to tell the Archduke about this, who will not understand. The lady needn't worry. Now he spoke not like a Pontiac butler, but like an ordinary old man who was curious about what was happening. As is already known, Aaron a man is a half-elf and therefore loves nature. When the acquaintance arrived at the estate in the morning, the hero felt the probable energy of the plants. The energy was so warming and calming that it even took my breath away. The brunette awkwardly scratches the back of her head because she can't believe it. Apparently, the body received from the world tree is capable of attracting the attention of an elf by its very appearance. It seems to Carlotte that the girl would be able to produce the same effect on his master. After what has been said, he asks for forgiveness because he was talking to himself. The old man is going to leave the newcomer to rest. He hopes that this place will become a new home in the near future with all the amenities. Adele is obliged to take care of the young master, and His Highness Carlotte puts his soul into serving Elkinas and not going after the one Zephyr spoke about. The image of the man is very pleasant. The sorceress is distracted from her thoughts by the dragon himself, who had to call her repeatedly to get through. The couple almost starts fighting. Zephyr believes that you can't communicate with him like that because if it weren't for him, the girl would die. Raising children is the most thankless task. The guy was indignant at the fact that the tree was called a vegetable, but this is what came to mind at that moment. After 15 minutes of arguing, both collapsed on the sofas, exhausted. It's good that the couple survived. The current Elkinas is completely different and not the same as Aaron remembered it. He kills people without even blinking an eye. The strange thing was that the brunette, without hesitation, attacked her comrade with whom she had once been on the battlefield. The girl was too naive, but the meeting decided everything. The heroine hoped that by sacrificing herself, she would help the others, but her actions not only did not save the guy, but also drove him crazy. It all happened because of Adele, who did it. Zephyr asks to calm down and gently puts his hand on his head. They all survived only thanks to the sorceress, so there is no point in blaming herself for what happened next. Not everyone would make such a sacrifice. Do not think that the beliefs and message that they tried to defend did not make sense. The girl really saved Elkinas, and now she has another chance to do the same. Thanks to the words, the lady perked up a little. Instead of dwelling on the past, it is better to think about the future. The blonde chuckles because his girlfriend quickly came to her senses, stopping crying. First, the lady plans, of course, to look after Rinty. Besides this, there is another problem. There was a strange energy in the children's room. Even the dragon himself felt the power, so the couple needs to find out where it came from at all costs because it's starting to make them dizzy. At first, the lady thought that the source was the owner of the premises, but after picking up the child in her arms, she could not identify anything that could help. Pontiac is definitely aware of the power that circulates around the room 24/7, but then it's unclear why it left it unattended. There must be a reason for everything. The blonde understands that Adele will be able to find out more about that darkness while she watches the growth and development of the half-breed. She will put an end to all this. As my friend said, the death of the character saved the lives of many. But the fact that by doing so, she pushed the guy to madness did not disappear. You can't ignore the fact that he's obsessed with the past. We need to make sure that the brunette accepts the loss, begins to live happily, and finally begins to smile. Every action should be close to your loved one. To complete the mission, you need to get rid of the feelings that the hero has for the sorceress. The blonde does not believe that she guessed that he was in love. The brunette believes that Elkinas has become attached to her. The girl, as always, disappoints because she hasn't gotten any wiser. It is better to hear the story in person from a warrior, but the feelings that are inside his heart are definitely not what is said. It's like a bomb with the fuse blown off. The feeling that comes before attachment is love. The lady doesn't believe that an acquaintance could think so, but it's strange that she denies it herself. The heroine believes that what happened is impossible. From the very beginning, he looked like he didn't like being around him and would constantly look around when they were together. The dragon sighs. He really doesn't understand why Irene could like him. She was even given chambers intended for the Archduchess's wife. It was Carlotte who chose the room, not the Duke. Zephyr thinks that the snake is too smart, but his gaze makes her friend nervous because she is not sure whether she can live there. Carlotte asked the girl to take care of her master, but ended up making a trap. Virgo begins to go crazy, so she asks Zephyr to say something. The blonde assures the sorceress that nothing like that happened. In his thoughts, the man only thinks that the snake is already busy pimping with might and main, but he overestimated the heroine's intelligence. It will be very difficult to achieve the desired result, and this is a fact. To deceive the elf, you should behave in exactly the same way as the beauty already behaves. They will succeed in everything as it should. Evening came, so the girl went to bed. She accidentally fell asleep, so she woke up only when dawn came. My body felt a little stiff, so I had to stretch. Sitting down by the window, the brunette only thinks about whether Zephyr returned home successfully. He could simply not find a place to stay, and then his affairs would be extremely bad, which is already clear. The girl fell asleep right in the middle of the conversation and cannot forgive herself for it. She remembers something about Hania, who took the post of head of the church, thereby elevating herself even higher. Jamil took care of peace in the underworld of the Denbane Empire, so she also felt just fine even after what happened. The interesting thing is that they both kept detailed notes on the squad that fought Kunturna, and they seem to have surfaced. Both the confession and the memoirs that the lady heard about during the day are precisely the records that were discovered. What Pontiac said earlier comes to mind. A friend's confession consists of voice messages she recorded. What Elkinas heard was not revealed to the general public and was said only for him. What Jamil wrote shows in detail the campaign against Kunturna. The book was divided into parts and sold. She herself left the world, leaving the group and family in such a state that they could live comfortably all their lives. Most likely it is these diaries that the fake Irene sent by the imperial family use. They already know everything. Jamil is truly incredible. She herself sold the books and left an inheritance. Imtern can't help but admire her, so he doesn't get the thought out of his head. Hanaya is also amazing. The little girl became the head of the church, although no one had even suspected such a development before. The sorceress remembers how the blonde asked about everything she knew about nature. She had already learned all the prayers, so it could be considered something similar. Hania always said that she didn't need praise, because she had memorized everything since childhood in the monastery. Irene, too, when she was little, constantly learned from her mother. Apparently cramming is very important, but my friend thought that this was not the point. The girl, in her opinion, was so charming and smart that everything came easy to her. After all the compliments, the brunette hugged the baby, saying that she was also wonderful. In the future, the lady is going to buy a house and plant herbs from which she can make tea. They must taste it together. The girl was surprised at first because she thought that the sorceress only drinks tea with the warrior, but she too had such an honor. Elkinas is different because he always drinks in one sip and sits with an empty cup. That night, the couple spotted Jamil and the Pontiac. They seemed to be close because recently they started disappearing somewhere together. It is not clear why then there was a strange feeling that stuck in my chest. It seemed as if they were even taking away their best friend, but the maiden was just a child. The ominous energy that is felt again distracts me from my thoughts. The flow seems to be focused on something, so it moves in one direction. It quickly became clear that the target of the force was Renithus. Everything that exists is stubbornly moving towards the room where the baby who needs to be saved is now located. It was too late to run forward. Taking a few seconds to think, the beauty realizes that there is only one option left and collects the light in her hands. Ares' spirit appeared. She was summoned again, using the seal, even if it had already been repeatedly said that it was better not to do this. Calling without a contract can have an impact on the strength of the bond. Next time the lady promises to sign a contract with Ventus and do everything right. The conversation will be postponed until later, but first, the lady asks to lift her body to the east wing. The spirit picks up her friend and carries her somewhere forward. This will truly be the last time my friend's body has changed, but her recklessness hasn't disappeared, so I don't want to try to cope with it anymore. They arrived at the scene. Even though the sun has risen and light is pouring into the room, it is unnaturally dark inside, and this makes you feel uneasy. Dark creatures are like annoying midges. These creatures are so weak that even an ordinary person can fight them off if he wants. It is because of this that they come together and have the habit of organizing a huge whole organism. Having magnified, they absorb the vital forces of a person and are filled with magical energy. The brunette goes further and quietly calls Renithus, hoping that he is somewhere nearby. In theory, everything should be fine with the baby. The light comes as if from the world tree, and this makes it pleasant. Renithus sits safe and sound in the cradle, smiling joyfully. Just in case, the Virgin put the child in a cradle and hid the leaves of the world tree there. Thanks to them, the dark creatures could not get closer. The leaf has withered. If we are talking about a force capable of even slightly desecrating a plant, a demon of the highest rank is needed. The high-ranking one was purified by the energy of the tree and disappeared somewhere, which makes one feel uneasy. Although he disappeared, other creatures reacted to the remaining energy and gathered nearby. Of course, it's just thoughts in my head, but we can already say for sure that someone is targeting Renithus. The baby needs protection and help from adults. It's worth trying to conclude a contract since there is still a sheet. We have to get rid of the remaining rabble so the necessary spirit will come in handy. The flame that descended from the sky turned to the man, which made him close his eyes. Realizing that he needs to move forward, Imturn tries to hold on. The king of the spirits of fire. Ignis appeared right in front of the girl. It burns completely, causing the temperature in the room to rise higher. A smile appeared on the man's face. During the time that they did not see each other, the lady's energy became similar to the energy of an ancient forest. The heroine is glad to meet because she thought that they would never see each other again. The boy is doing just fine. He and the other 3 bugs got along well. Looking at the sorceress, one involuntarily manages to remember the old days. It seems that the brunette is holding her child in her arms. She protests because, in fact, this of course is not her baby, but just someone she has to look after. 100 years is enough to be reborn and start a new family, but apparently the friend was mistaken. In any case, this is not the most important thing. Ignis receives gratitude for visiting a new place. If he doesn't mind, they can re-enter the same contract. Having concluded a deal, the young man will be able to demonstrate his strength as much as he wants. He can't wait to see how much better things will get, and he's still obsessed with victories and challenges. The flame begins to read out the oath he takes. He asks the name of the one who enters into a contract with him, and in response for a split second, he hears some kind of silence. Virgo smiles and then confidently says that her name is Irene. Immediately, everything goes well, from which one can only rejoice at what is happening. Ignis almost jumps for joy. For the first time in a long time, he manages to feel such a bright and kind energy flowing through his veins. The man says his congratulations. The maiden will become the only spellcaster in the world who is associated with the king for the 2nd time in a row. Looking around, the old friend assumes that he was called in order to get rid of the dark creatures that filled the room. The room is dangerous, so the lady decides to put Renithus down for a while. She turns around and notices a man. The maid lies with a book in her hands. Apparently, this is someone watching the child at night. The dark creatures deprived her of energy, and therefore she lost consciousness. Pulse is normal. Fortunately, there are no wounds, but the body is cold, so Imturn calls the spirit to warm the person as soon as he finishes cleansing. One of the kids ran away. They can hide in any dark place, so if you don't catch them right away, you won't end up with problems later. It's worth going forward. The maiden almost caught the animal, but she sees the sword of the sacred warrior Kelfin, and this means only one thing. Elkinas appeared in the room and asked in a menacing voice what was going on. The girl smiles stupidly, thinking about how best to explain what is happening. Perhaps it would be worth saying that I simply had to perform nanny duties. The strange energy felt throughout the entire eastern wing, coupled with traces of power comparable to the level of a spirit. King cannot be explained to those who should be doing this. After what has been said, it is better to explain in order. As you can see, the child is safe and sound, and now he is in no danger. The guy is more interested in whether Adele is okay, who does not immediately understand what the question is about. The girl is fine. Elkinas is worried about its safety, but only yesterday he was ready to cut it into pieces. Since everything is fine, it's better to close the topic for now. The rest will have to be reported at breakfast. Very soon we will have to tell a lot, otherwise it will only get much worse. The lady was sent back to the bedroom to get some sleep. Inside you want to tear and throw, because they will be alone with their friend while they have lunch. Carlotte noticed Adele's condition in the morning. She seems a little nervous about what's going on and isn't prepared for how things might turn out. The Archduke seems to enjoy table conversations. According to the servant, His Highness would rather not like this, which drives the beauty into even greater doubts. If only Zephyr were around, everything would be much easier. He is never there when help is really needed. The lady had already arrived in the dining room. The butler wishes for a pleasant meal and then closes the doors. Only Pontiac is in perfect order because he doesn't look at all like a man who was awake at dawn. The lady is about to sit opposite, but the Duke orders him to sit right next to him. Otherwise, he will not be able to see her face. Sighing, the heroine agrees. There is no appetite at all, even though they want it because of her excitement. Adele doesn't even feel the taste, but it's still worth at least eating. It's impossible not to try the dishes on the table. The breakfast of aristocrats is very different, because everything is so appetizing that it makes your mouth water. While scooping up a stew of vegetables and meat, the lady puts the spoon in her mouth. She hasn't eaten something like this for a long time, and this is the first thing she's been able to try since her rebirth. That same taste makes you feel pleasure. The food is reminiscent of the same food that the warriors in the detachment ate on the way to Confronting. The young man asks whether the nanny liked the food. The dish she tried was truly perfect. One has only to look at the composition, which contains a plant such as parsnip. It can only be found in some Eastern countries, so it is truly rare. The lady realized late that she had said too much. So she hopes that she did not give herself away. It is better not to reveal your identity, especially by mistake, because of some kind of stew. The brunette notices that her friend suddenly stopped eating. She thought about it and decided that she didn't really like the stew, so she just put it aside. The virgin ate quite a lot, and this is all because she really already had enough. In this case, it is best to start reporting what happened at dawn. It's better to explain calmly and not get nervous again. The energy of the Spirit King was not random, just like the attack of the dark creature. Without hiding anything, Adele told the story. The Duke chuckles and then assures that this is quite possible. Many target this child from an early age. I can't believe that the gentleman announced the birth of the baby to the whole world. No one was supposed to know, but somehow now everyone knows who lives on the estate. That time when the young man went to see the child, the whole room was filled with energy. Aaron had to wonder why they didn't get rid of the creatures. The brunette was just about to ask better questions. As everyone knows, constant contact with demonic force is harmful for those who have just been born. Pontiac says it didn't turn a blind eye to anything. No matter how much he cleared the room, that power appeared again and again as if it had a purpose. What is happening cannot be possible, and it makes you feel uneasy. Kelvin contains an amount of divine energy that is supposed to protect. Even if the sword is not as effective in healing and cleansing as the powers of the priest, it is quite capable of clearing this kind of space. About 5 months have passed since the energy began to skillfully find the child anywhere. The estate cannot yet receive help from the church, and therefore had to deal with it alone. Elkinas has such a sad face that his friend feels truly sorry for him. I already want to sympathize, but it's worth pulling yourself together and keeping quiet. All the problems began when the young man decided to raise Kunturna's egg, thereby turning both the imperial family and the temple against himself. Leaning back, the girl agrees that it was not easy, but according to her, nothing can be done about it, so you just have to forget. The man definitely deserved what he said. The girl succumbed to her charming face for a second and almost lost her ability to think sensibly, assessing the situation. As Imtern said, there is nothing to be done about it. It would be better if they showed their appearance so that they could be dealt with, but forces are gradually invading with the help of an invisible stream. We managed to accidentally find out who was behind it all. We will talk about fanatics, but first of all, the young man asks if Aaron knows anything about such people. These seem to be people who believe in the devil. The girl is not sure because such people are disgusting since they reject the true God. In fact, they almost succeeded in guessing, but the creature they believe is the dragon Kuntern. A horror freezes in the girl's eyes, which cannot be removed anywhere. The brunette does not believe that there could be people who worshipped the creature that almost destroyed the world. You will never be able to understand the thoughts in your head, even after a while. There were cases where a noble sent by the imperial family or a fake maid who infiltrated the estate turned out to be fanatics, and they were all aimed at Renithus. The fanatics probably want to use the boy as a sacrifice to resurrect the dragon. Aaron, listening, wants to cry because he cannot afford to just sit idly by. No longer holding back, the heroine says that she can help too. It is impossible to stand aside when the young master entrusted with him is in such danger. The girl will certainly protect the baby. She is a spellcaster and is completely confident in her power of cleansing. If anyone is in doubt, you can even demonstrate your skills just to get started. His Highness freezes. It seems to him that Irene is in front of him, who offers to help him since she cannot leave him alone. In an instant, everything becomes so unimportant. A man hears himself being asked about his health. In response, he has to ask him not to worry, because he remembered what he had forgotten. Apparently, Adele thinks that the boy is no better than the fanatics. At first, the lady doesn't even understand what this remark is about, but quietly asks what the problem is. Besides everything else, the guy forced the child to be born in pursuit of his own goals. It seems that the hero has gone off the right path somewhere. In fact, the friend simply found himself on the edge of the abyss due to the despair that gripped him. Even if he really took the wrong path, the sacred sword would lose its power. It is the brunette who puts a lot of effort into protecting Mr. Renithus alone, even if it is extremely difficult. No matter how it all happened, the young man is indeed the son of a duke. Kunterna just laid an egg, and the energy of the child is light and pure, which cannot be such evil. Although it seems that the man will throw the baby away after completing the mission, he still takes care of him. The relationship between father and son cannot get better quickly. The brunette understood what was meant, and therefore will continue to follow Adele's advice. The girl can't believe it, because it seemed to her that they would be angry with her because she was meddling in someone else's business. Elkinas himself knows that the child is not bad at all. The heroine knew that Zephyr was in vain scolding the boy because his true appearance appeared. The man is glad that among the dragons there are such representatives as Aaron. The conversation was interrupted by Carlotte, who arrived just in time. As it turned out, a place was discovered where fanatics performed the summoning ceremony. Virgo immediately shows a desire to go to that very place, but they promise her to do the cleansing later. Now this will not be the most pleasant sight. Before leaving the chambers, the brunette smiles. They will see each other in the evening, but for now, the lady is left alone with the butler. The old man asks if Imtern liked the dishes, and she waves her head in agreement. The brunette wants to find out more about the ceremony site where the duke went. As it turned out, a gathering of people periodically conduct various kinds of rituals not far from the Pontiac estate, thereby trying to be as close as possible. Having caught animals living in the forest, they draw a calling circle with their blood, or, under the influence of pills, sing songs all night long. The owner deals with the last problem personally with the help of a sword. Incidents with innocent animals still happen just as often. Virgo believes that it is completely inhuman to cause pain to others, but they are apparently ready to do even that. The lady hopes that there is nothing wrong with the fact that they sent the Duke alone to such a place. The old man is surprised that the lady is worried about someone who is so strong. Imtern has a good heart, but there is no point in worrying. Fanatics are no match for His Highness, and in an emergency, the Ultima Church and the capital's Tower of Magicians will come to the rescue. The girl doesn't understand what we're talking about because she clearly remembers the very words that were said to her quite recently, that a man alone protects Irene. The ladies were shown to their chambers. Carlotte says goodbye and wishes him a good rest before he has to start his duties again. Before allowing the elf to leave, the woman informs him that she plans to cleanse the palace soon and asks if this will be possible. Adele can do as she pleases. Due to the fact that the girl is not so familiar with the structure of the mansion, an escort will be sent to her. Today, the Archduke will be visited by an important guest, so it is also worth making sure that their routes do not intersect. The newcomer will be from the imperial family. Denbine, those who sent countless false arenas to Elkinas, I would like to know for what purpose they came this time. There's a bad feeling lurking inside. Maid meets lady. Her name is Ollie, and she was entrusted with the care of the beauty's chambers. She promises that she will give a tour of the mansion. The girl tells why people from the palace arrived, thereby clarifying the situation. They are here to deal with the latest arena episode. One of its members arrived on behalf of the royal family. The next scene of official apologies will be strange when the person says that they themselves did not know that the Virgin was a fake. The arrivals never come on the same day because they avoid His Highness in anger, fearing that he might draw the sword. Ollie doesn't seem to like the Deepening family either. Any resident of Irene hates those people because everyone knows how important Irene is for the master citizens, are aware of how painful meetings are for a man. The maid sincerely feels sorry for the owner because he did not say that he was looking for a girlfriend. He may not be able to shake off his regrets over the Deepening family's latest prophecy. That time they again sent as a representative the smug princess who supposedly predicts the future. Lady Adele had better forget what was just said. Be that as it may, you cannot insult the emperor. The girl asks not to worry. The girl has no motive to expose Ollie, and neither does what she says. Since they have reached this level, the lady wants to know about the princess. The beauty's name is Uillian de Deepening. She is known as the unmarried princess who retained her youth and beauty despite the age she lived. In reality, everyone knows her because of the prophecies about 8 years ago when there was a severe drought. She left the first prophecy saying that nature itself had turned to her. The girl said that Irene was alive and would return very soon. Because of this false prediction, everything turned out this way with those who come to the Duke. Considering that the beauty actually returned alive, her prophecy came true, but it is not clear how this is possible. Perhaps the lady is also a charmer since she speaks with nature. Spellcasters are only ordinary observers capable of recognizing the signs left by nature. They do not have the gift of prophecy, but all the predictions, with the exception of Irene, turned out to be correct. The imperial family decided to use the prophecies for their own purposes. It's still amazing how everything came true. We also learned about the Society of Fanatics thanks to Uillian. Ollie still doesn't like the princess because of her behavior. She visits the duchy using apologies as a new excuse and lashes out at Elenis every time. The girl seems to like the man. They have already reached the main hall, so the maid is about to leave. Virgo may speak informally to avoid embarrassment. It seems that they will see each other often since the maid is looking after the room in which the beauty lives. They should get to know each other better. The brunette doesn't understand how exactly she can immediately switch to such communication. If the manager finds out, they will immediately throw her out, although this is not a problem. Ollie left, and the heroine sighed heavily because she sincerely hoped that she would be able to get closer to someone. If all else fails, you should get down to business. Hands collected water. The running streams merged into a single hole, and from there the queen of the water spirits, Nebula, appeared looking around. The beauty, smiling, greets her friend but suddenly becomes angry. The screams are heard so loudly that your ears are a little blocked, even though the girl says that she missed you. Nebula does not believe that she was the second. Even though she is the strongest of all 4 elements, Irene did not expect the betrayal that occurred. It completely slipped my mind what a jealous girl she is. Ignis boasted of meeting the enchantress, although it should have been the Water Queen since she was the first to know about everything. The girl tries to say something, but she is interrupted. Being nice won't help because the lady is evil. The brunette chuckles, asking how Nebula can be so adorable even now. Turning away, the spirit again assures that nothing will come of it. Appearance praise and compliments will work best, so the girl is not going to give up. Fake tears form in the eyes. Adele assures that she is so touched by their meeting that she cannot even contain her happiness. There are accusations again. The spirit believes that the heroine burst into tears even when meeting the god of fire, so she simply should not be so impressionable. The hand reaches out to her friend. She is the first spirit queen in the world to see the tears of a spellcaster. The beauty really missed you very much. The heroine picks up Irene, who is already trying to brace herself with her hands so that she is not swallowed up by the water. Spirit also missed her very much and was incredibly glad to meet her. In the morning, the lady was left completely exhausted. She managed to successfully conclude a contract with Nebula and also carried out the purification together with Ignis. Virgo hears screams. The princess asks the Duke to forgive the imperial family and allow him to attend the ball in honor of the holiday of the extermination of the dragon. Even without receiving permission, The girl would have come up with another reason, not understanding what was happening. The lady hid behind the stairs. She hopes everything will go well, but she will be able to rest soon. The person who comes forward resembles someone. Obviously, this is the same fortune teller Uillian who was already mentioned earlier. The brunette is very familiar with the cowardice of the imperial family, which year after year does the same thing without coming personally to apologize. The woman grabs hands, assuring that she wanted to see each other. She did not come empty-handed because this time a new prophecy appeared. The first prediction was the return of Lord Irene, and this time a new prophecy appeared about her, which says that Elenis is not destined to be with her, but he can find peace by meeting another person. Virgo can't believe that everything coincides with the fact that she has been reborn and wants to achieve something Adele really believed, that her friend would soon come to terms and start a new life. The princess asks not to worry. The predictions have always been correct, so they will soon find peace. The atmosphere was incredibly intimidating, and the moment to leave had already passed. If this happens, you should wait until the couple leaves and then calmly leave. All dreams are destroyed when a persistent gaze turns to imturn. I can't believe that the man noticed someone he knew, but what's more important is why he was looking straight at her like that. Perhaps he didn't like the fact of eavesdropping. The emotion on the Duke's face was not one of dissatisfaction, but rather a desire to see a reaction. Unfortunately, the lady doesn't know how to react to this. The best option is to leave quickly so the heroine runs away. There was no need to eavesdrop, but it was strange to rub everything because the woman was hiding. The heroine entered the eastern wing. Although she doesn't want to run into Elenis, she needs to check how Renithus is doing. In the room, the lady is greeted by a maid who smiles welcomingly as soon as she sees her mistress. Something seems familiar, and only over time does the beauty realize that this is the same person who fell under the influence of dark energy and passed out. She wants to ask about the boy's well-being, but she is told in advance that he only recently fell asleep. The woman was about to prepare the mixture. As it turned out, the girl was asking about the blonde's well-being. Perhaps she's noticed lately that her body suddenly freezes or her thoughts become bad. If this did not happen, you can breathe out calmly, because there are no serious injuries. Virgo doesn't understand what's happening, but the gentlemen seem to be worried about her. Adele wanted to give away a communication device, which is also extremely important. If suddenly something happens to the young master, you need to press in the middle. The maid with glowing eyes declares that this is the first time she has seen the artifact alive. She is not sure if she is allowed to have such an important thing with her. According to the brunette, she brought the item specifically for a friend, but in fact she literally begged it from Zephyr, who was skeptical. Renithus seems to have already woken up. He seems to be in a great mood because he was playing something interesting in his sleep. A smile instantly blooms on your face. The maid stands with her mouth open. She doesn't believe what she saw because the heroine manages to hold the baby in her arms without any problems. The girl is talking about something else. Even 5 adult men could not cope with the child, and only the Duke was able to pick him up. Everything became too confusing and strange. Thinking about something literally for a second, the lady decides to ask one interesting question, which Lena will have to answer correctly and sincerely. It may be that an acquaintance is afraid of the young gentleman. She will not be scolded for telling the truth, so collecting her thoughts, the girl says that she gets very scared every time she is in the room. When Lena got to the estate, she had to sign a secret magical contract. During work, unusual things often happened that required a contract. At some point, anxiety came because the baby was not growing up. Despite this, the woman takes a responsible approach to caring for Renithus, so she falls to her knees to ask not to be thrown out into the street. The heroine is not going to fire anyone because she is not that kind of person. It's normal to feel anxious after meeting someone great. The blonde managed to overcome the strange feeling and continued to leave, not being distracted one bit from her duties that she had been assigned earlier. The only thing you need to know is that Renithus is just a child. He must receive love and care because this is important for any animal or person. Children do not have the strength to stand up for themselves, so they are better than anyone else at recognizing people who are capable of harm. Usually, babies cry loudly to show resistance. Pontiac tried to influence the situation by crying, which means that being among people who were afraid, he was only trying to hide. After the nanny's story, Renithus is no longer frightening at all. The maid sadly imagines how lonely he was all this time alone among no friends. If everything is really normal, Lena should try to warm the master in her arms. The girl stretches out her hands, convincing herself that the baby is not scary. Rinti is just a kid who doesn't deserve to be treated poorly. He immediately clung to the woman's chest, closing his eyes. The girl can't even believe what she saw. She is now one of those who can hold the boy in her arms because he felt that Lena was kind to him. It's nice to see the couple so happy, and it makes everything better. With the problem settled, it was time to head to Elenis. It seemed to the brunette that the nanny was constantly avoiding him, but then she came. It would be nice to avoid the unpleasant conversation about that meeting with our eyes. Renithus must also be present. Your eyes run over the desserts, which really seem to have been drawn for some cookbook. The guy sees that the girl is interested in the goodies. It's amazing that one strawberry can be used to make so many different dishes that are sure to be delicious. At the top, there are strawberries with cream, and just below there is a compote which is also from the same berry. We're talking about sandwiches, made with just pork and turkey ham, which is nothing unusual. The lady thought the ingredients would be a little different. Virgo remembered sandwiches with scrambled eggs and cucumber. For some reason, she thought that aristocrats also loved to eat something similar and so tasty. The man's facial expression changes in a split second. He remembers how one of his friends mentioned such a dish from the book, the same one that is very common in reality. An awkward smile appears on her face when the heroine tries to say that the Imtern clan is still very different from the others. The first minute of shame has passed. Adele burned out that she taught noble culture from romance novels. His Highness should also try if he gets the chance. The Archduke puts his head in his hands. The brunette worriedly asks if everything is okay with him and wonders why he is crying. It might be worth talking later, but the man claims he's fine. The lady called him because there was something urgent. The hero himself starts first. The lady thought for a long time. Currently, the young master lives in the East Wing away from people, but it is worth placing him in the main building with the others as soon as possible. There are only 3 reasons why Renithus is recommended to change rooms, and they of course make sense because the baby needs it. First, the move is necessary to protect the young master. The East Wing is located quite far from the main building. If something happens at night like that time, the Duke will be able to react quickly. It would be nice if the servants' relationships stopped deteriorating. The brunette did not suspect that they were divided into several different groups. The girl also heard about what was happening. It is said that the servants of the main building shun their colleagues from the East Wing and often speak evil of them. You should deal with the problem as quickly as possible. Initially, there was no reason to lock the baby in a wing where there was no one. He is a good being from whom no evil energy is felt. It is painful to see how a child has to spend time in a closed room. You should show everyone else that the baby poses no danger. If you continue to hide the boy, the rumors will only increase. The Duke hopes that the lady does not think that he placed his son in the East Wing because she does not pay attention to him. As is already known, the child is very sensitive, and leaving such a child among people whose eyes are filled with fear seemed like the worst option. It seems Adele has also arrived with her father to change the child and rid the world of his presence. The outside world is full of hostile people. The opinions of others are not so easy to change. The hero emerged from an egg left by Kunturna and did not grow for 10 years, so no one will ever be able to love him again. For some reason, Elenis is so confident in the existence of such people that it makes him feel uneasy. In his opinion, nothing like this has ever been seen before. The girl abruptly gets up from her seat, saying that they will have the opportunity to meet such a person because it is Adele who will love the boy. She will always take care of him and give her love without boundaries. Of course, it is understandable why the father is worried, but the choice will not solve the main problem, which will still remain in place, not moving anywhere. The reason why the young master is feared, and even feared, is because people think that the child was given birth to by the Countern. It's hard not to accept this fact. This may be true to some extent, but it is not that important. You can report all the details a little later after people open their hearts to the baby. It seems the lady suggests making a false statement first. Revealing all your cards at the stage of building a relationship is not always a winning option. In addition to the steps that will need to be overcome, the Duke will also be obliged to give the boy his love, showing that he needs him. It is known that Pontiac actually loves the baby since he was the only one who held Rinti, who had sneaked away from everyone, in his arms. As soon as he was in danger, Elenis was the first to come to the rescue. Although the man blames himself for creating a living being in order to use it as a tool, and even though in reality everything goes as planned, the young man still wants the best. The brunette exhales quietly and turns away. He thought that he and Zephyr were completely different, but it turned out to be completely different. The couple have the same ability to get into people's souls without their permission, and this cannot be taken away. This only means that Elkina still values the baby. Now the guy must stop acting as if he is trying to achieve something with the help of a child. After everything that happened between them, the boy simply has to start taking care of the baby. Knowing how things will be in the future makes you feel good. The atmosphere in the room is heating up, and it seems that the girl has obviously gone too far in the wrong direction. The friend was in a good mood, so the lady began to demand everything. Deathly silence is a clear sign of thinking about whether to kill a friend or not. The brunette shrinks, assuring that she said it without thinking. She never had bad intentions. The Duke promises to do everything as ordered. The bedroom will be moved to the main building, and the hero himself will stop acting as if he is using the child because of his own greed. It looks like the guy will find his own way to achieve what he wants. I can't believe he hasn't given up the idea of resurrecting a girl who won't come back. The man without further hesitation calls Adele closer to him. In a split second, the baby finds himself in the arms of a guy who gently rocks him. The child is so happy because his father took him in his arms. There is no limit to joy because Elkinas has not yet lost the smile he received. The problem with Rinty's room is solved, and so the lady goes out for a walk. It is worth at least trying to cleanse the place where the ritual of fanatics took place. The guy has already carried out the cleansing with his sword, but oddly enough the characteristic stench still remains and persistently hovers in the clouds. No matter how you look at it, it's all too strange. Such demonic energy could easily be purified with just Elkinas's sword, but this did not happen. The trace has not disappeared anywhere as if there was some other spell. In this case, what happened looks more like a bait. One of the varieties of dark magic consists of two parts. One of them is the transmitter, and the second is the receiver. This is a kind of remote control magic in which two objects are paired. If you apply magic to the transmitter, things will become a little easier. It will also work on a receiver located within a radius of 3 millers. Despite the fact that the objects are located far from each other, the spell can be used again at any time. Both parts must be intact, so the spell will be easily broken once the transmitter or receiver is destroyed. The problem is different. The bait can be a tree, a stone, or anything from the above. It's impossible to guess, so you'll have to risk your brains. An ordinary magician would never be able to find his thing, but for Adele, in any case, nothing is forbidden, so she is going to step forward. From the soil to fine dust, from dust to eternity, a girl appears. She is delighted to welcome the wisest star in the universe, who begins to smile the brightest. The Queen of the Earth Spirits. Teratonia has finally shown her face to the light. The girl rushes into her arms, shouting something about how much she has missed her all this time. The lady snuggles even closer, talking over and over again about how much she missed you. She again manages to feel the same warmth that breathes with the energy of kindness. The Earth Queen is the chief among the 4 spirit kings. The most majestic spirit who received the blessing of the World Tree is her. My heart becomes calm every time I manage to see my friend. Next to her, my heart sincerely rejoices. There is no time to relax at all. Aaron says they should re-sign. There is silence in response, so the lady thinks that she is the only one who wanted something like this. In fact, the Virgin certainly wants to stay close because Teratonia is experiencing such strong feelings for the first time, but this time, she is obliged to put forward one condition. Stretching out her palm to her silky hair, the lady asks only that her friend take care of her body, which deserves only the best. On the day the girl sacrificed herself, the friend's heart ached in pain, as if she had lost her own child. The brunette really felt sorry for how things turned out for Teratonia, who didn't want pain. This time, the Virgin promises that she will not even give a reason for sadness that may appear. There will never be a reason for sadness again, and this is clear from the very beginning. Aaron will be taken care of even in her new life, and this is important. Teratonia passed along with a friend who pointed her hand at the dark clots of energy. It's immediately clear what's what and why this is bait. Thoughts are confused in my head. The brunette knew that something was wrong. For a successful idea, everyone must hit at a distance. Within a radius of 20 kilometers, you can seek help. The girl calls out to the children who live on this land. She wants to know what happened during this time, because further actions will depend on it. The kids saw something. At the beginning of the month, namely the 7th, at dawn, at about 3 o'clock, many stones were thrown down which were ready to level everything to the ground. The girl grabs one of the pebbles, which falls down again. The energy of the bait definitely emanates from it. If you break the thing into pieces, you will no longer be able to cast the spell. Adele never thought that fanatics would use something so powerful to cast a spell. The assembly is indeed strongly opposed to the duchy. Teratonia noticed that extremely dark energy was emanating from the side. The lady will move the thing out of herself to understand what it is. Something emerges from the ground and the lady recoils in horror because Buns is in front of her. This is a doll that allows you to control living beings. In this case, corpses were used instead of dolls. Creatures of darkness will like this, so this method is probably the most effective to prevent the warrior from detecting anything. They used many talismans with spells. Whatever it is worth destroying the doll as quickly as possible. Before this, the lady resolutely takes the talisman. Maybe thanks to this little thing, we will finally be able to trace the culprit. The girl has no idea what the fanatics, who are literally going crazy, are trying to achieve. It feels as if the target is not only Renithus. There is a possibility that they need Elkinas himself. They want to sacrifice him and use him as a puppet to attack the human world. The girl hears the voices of aristocrats admiring someone's dress. It will surely mark the beginning of palace fashion, which keeps getting better. The standing figure surrounded by others very much resembles someone. Only after looking a little closer does the maiden realize that it is Uillian. Last time Irene wasn't able to get a good look at the beauty because she was trying to hide, but up close she's incredibly charming. I can't believe that the Duke could be rude to such a person. But the clothes look uncomfortable. It seems that aristocratic women have a hard time every day. One of the maidens yells at Adele to show respect. The lady is thinking about what the rules are for communicating with her superiors. After the departure before the hike, the girl had never encountered anything like this. It doesn't really matter what, so the lady believes that no matter how she bends, it will be quite normal. It is extremely difficult to maintain balance. The blonde closes her eyes in horror at what she has to watch. Not a single movement is correct, so it looks like the girl wants to show that she hasn't learned anything. The brunette apologizes for the clumsiness being too noticeable. This is all due to the fact that she did not study etiquette separately, so she is not very familiar with it. Very soon she will be able to master everything. The princess is trying to reduce her friend's anger. Ultimately, she and Celine themselves were to blame, although it is not yet clear what exactly. For an aristocrat who, like commoners, did not even have the opportunity to obtain a higher education, maintaining etiquette will be an overwhelming task. Virgo notices that the efforts look both pathetic and cute. Burning with joy, Adele climbs forward, saying that Her Highness's soul is as beautiful as her face. The brunette can't help but be grateful that they still came into her position, and on top of all this, they called her cute generosity gives strength, so next time she will definitely do the right greeting. The aristocrats continue to be indignant, but the lady is already distracted. The artifact glows because Lena calls her friend. The fear that something has happened to Renithus makes it difficult to breathe. Turning around, the girl is about to run away. Everyone is wondering where the lady is going, but she just brushes it off, saying that there are urgent matters. The girl will leave first since there is not even time to stay. She apologizes again and again for her behavior and then quickly runs away. The noble lady snorts as she watches her new acquaintance quickly walk away. Because of her, the mood was spoiled. Noticing a maid nearby, the girl wonders who this uneducated person is who is running around. This is Lady Imtern, who is the new nanny. Everyone thought that she might be an aristocrat when they first saw her, but it turned out that this was not the case at all. It is not so important what and how will happen next. The rumors that the Duke was hiding the child were true. They could not have appeared out of nowhere as if out of nowhere. It's strange that this particular person was made the nanny. Her Highness, giving the girls a contemptuous look, asks them not to gossip and then asks the maid where she can meet Adele. At the moment, the girl lives in the Duchess's quarters on the estate. The girls begin to excitedly discuss what is happening. I don't quite believe it, but it looks like the lady is the mother of that baby, since she is treated like this. Lena leads Imtern straight into the young master's chambers and points to the baby who has grown quite a lot in size. I can't believe that a child could become so big in just one day after the incident. He stretches out his arms, calling the heroine mom, and smiling. It is not entirely clear what needs to be done next and how to resolve the misunderstanding. Raising the boy in her arms, the lady lowers him to the ground. It's strange that the brunette is trying to walk on his own, although until recently he could only lie down and try to roll over from side to side. The maid also does not believe that the master learned to walk after 10 years and grew up. The nanny squats down to praise her charge. In addition to the fact that the boy grew up, he also developed speech and control over his body. It seems impossible, but you have to believe it after what you see. The maid is going to bring more new towels and clothes, and she has also been instructed to call the Duke. A man holds a child in his arms, saying that he has grown up. The boy plays with his father's cheeks, saying that he really wanted to tell him that he loved him. The lady almost cries from such cuteness. It was very difficult to remain a child who could not speak for 10 years. Putting his son down, the young man asks about the assumptions. I would like to know what triggered such rapid growth. Before starting to say anything, the lady decided to borrow the power of the wind spirit to tightly cover Renithus' ears. He shouldn't listen to adults. The girl is not sure, but she also has one guess. In the afternoon, when she went to cleanse the very place where the fanatics performed the ritual, she noticed something more than strange. Buns were discovered there. There were 2 spells, and the young master immediately grew up after getting rid of them. Something like this cannot be a mere coincidence. The baby most likely could not grow up all this time due to the effects of spells that were cast a little earlier. It is obvious that someone has been deliberately hindering the boy's growth and development all this time. The Duke frowns, and it is immediately noticeable how the atmosphere of the room has thickened. This may not be true, but it would be difficult to detect the spell due to the fact that it is high-level magic. Looking for something like this is very troublesome. A little more, and Renithus would really be in danger. I was very lucky to get off so easily. The man owes a big debt to Adele. Virgo assures that she's just doing work and has not done anything like that, but with a smile on her face, they tell her that this is her merit. The Duke is very grateful. The facial expression seems painfully familiar. The young man always looked with such a look, and this smile, extremely gentle and filled with warmth, warms the body. The man was unhappy and lonely for a long time. Even though he spent so much time away from everyone, his smile remained the same, which makes my heart happy. The kid interrupts the moment by starting to shake his head. He hears nothing, so he asks the spirit to leave, and he immediately obeys unconditionally so as not to make things worse. I can't believe that the magic was dispelled only at the request of Renithus, because as a rule such a thing never happened. The girl quietly asks the young master what he did. The kid chased away Eri, who was summoned. The connection may be weak due to the lack of a contract with the wind spirit, but not so weak that it could be driven away by a small child who is 10 years old. The brunette asks if he did wrong. His eyes begin to fill with tears as he says that he only wanted to hear the voices of his mother and father. They assure him that everything is fine. At such an early age, the child already demonstrates an amazing sensitivity to magic, so he can safely be called a genius, especially for his parents. The child undoubtedly inherited Elkinas's talent. Also during battles, sensitivity to various types of magic gradually began to develop. Pontiac doesn't immediately understand what inherit means, but that's why it asks. The nanny explains everything by saying that she and the Duke are the same, like 2 peas in a pod. The man silently watches how the girl entertains the boy and how he constantly smiles, trying to say something. They are both happy. The maids notice that the young master is in a great mood as he likes the idea of growing up. A lot has happened, and now we need the rumors to gradually fade away. Virgo herself advised her friend to refute all the gossip about the birth of a child from an egg, but it is not clear what exactly needs to be said in order to be convincing. All that remains is to turn to Lena and Ollie. The heroine told the maids that the baby was not growing at all due to some curse that was poisoning his life. Everything turned out to be simpler than it seemed. The lady did not think that they would immediately believe her. It turns out that the rumors about Kunturna's egg were false. The words about the dragon themselves sounded absurd. The maid is a little ashamed because, frankly, she partially believed everything that was said and was even afraid of the boy until everything was explained to her as it should be. When the girl saw how grown men could not handle the Pontiac, she thought that he was really different from others because he came from a dragon. Anything is possible because the boy is the son of the Grand Duke, who himself has enormous power. Even the legend about the birth of His Highness amazes the imagination. The lady has no idea what we are talking about. The maid says that according to legend, from the moment he was born, the man ate only pieces of iron. Almost everyone believes this. In addition, everyone knows that before he had even taken his first step, the boy could already catch a boar with one hand. The parents, whose hearts were filled with fear, left the baby in the village. Judging by the stories, everyone thinks the guy is a monster, but in fact, the reason why the young man ended up in the village was because his father kicked out his wife in order to marry another woman. By that time, Elkinis's mother was already pregnant, and having given birth, she passed on to another world. The boy found himself in an unfamiliar area with his nanny who was looking after him. Due to the issue of inheritance, the young man returned to the Duke's family. The girl has no idea which part of the legend needs to be corrected the fastest. Illegitimate child is a more realistic version than the one about Conturna. The heroine is glad that she dealt with the rumors, but now strange gossip has begun about an acquaintance. The lady still doesn't have another story, so even if she wanted, she couldn't change anything now. Nothing will happen if you leave the legend as it is for now. Lady Imtern arrived in a wonderful dress. She will never get used to the fact that before every meal with the Duke, she has to dress up as if for a holiday. According to Ollie, the princess should arrive soon, but for now, Zephyr and Elkinis are in the room. If the lady remembers correctly, then according to etiquette, she should proceed further. Coming forward, 2 hands appear before the beauty, reaching closer to her, as if asking for something. The lady does not understand whom she should accept and whom she should reject. No one prepared the girl for this kind of test, but since she is unmarried, she should rather go with Zephyr, who is her father. It was not in vain that the girl studied before coming there to the place. The man is happy that his daughter is doing so well while thinking about the strange expression on the face of the Duke standing behind him. The beauty's place is on the left. To the right of the person sitting at the head of the table should be someone whose status is as high as that of the princess herself. Her Highness Princess Uillian arrived just in time. The door swings open and a charming maiden appears with a smile on her face. The brunette watches as Elkinis hasn't even moved from his spot. She didn't know much about etiquette, but surely in such a situation, it would be better to escort Denbine to the table. The girl was warped because they were addressing her like that. Zephyr understands that it is better to figure it out himself, so he gets up from his seat greeting the arrival. Blonde is a count who owns the territories of Imtern. Her Highness may do the honor of having a man escort her to the table, and of course, she nods in agreement. After meeting the lady was worried about the family's reputation, but now she can be calm. Not all members have such terrible manners. The girl deliberately humiliated Adele. The brunette butts into the conversation. The princess seems to have forgotten where she is. In this estate, she is just a guest who would rather not offend anyone, just like in the Emperor's palace. The friend's words turned out to be a little hurtful, but nothing can be done about it. The lady understood what they were trying to convey to her because she obviously should respect the Archduke's honored guests. Virgo listens to the conversation about the newcomer's walk, but accidentally notices how the color of her eyes has changed slightly. Now it is not blue, but at the edge it is also dark black, which made me feel uneasy. Waving it off, the heroine hopes that she seemed to be imagining it. After everything is over, the lady begins the meal. There is an excellent steak on the plate. The atmosphere in the room is clearly tense. I would like to ask the guys to quickly relax and not think about bad things. It's even sad that Adele is the only one who enjoys sweets. After another minute, the brunette jumps up from her seat furiously, asking how Imtern can do this to her. She acts as if she is not herself, although she seems to be a princess. The girl says that they continue to touch her with her toes, which of course is unpleasant. The lady assures that this is impossible from behind the table because the chair with the interlocutor is too far away. Horrified, the heroine asks who touched her leg. The brunette crawls under the table thinking that this is some kind of spell, but it is Renithus. The young master, as soon as he sees the girl, kneels down and calls her mom, smiling at the same time. Denbine asks to tell him what's going on because he doesn't quite understand. The virgin crawls back out, and in her arms, there is a child who continues to call her by a name other than her. Most recently, the baby was with Lena, but somehow ended up in a different place. The princess lowers her voice, asking why the boy calls Imtern mother. It seems that those same absurd rumors that were already talked about before turned out to be true. Promising that everything will be explained later, the girl is going to first take the baby back to the maid who is looking after him. She's probably worried. Of course, the girl left the hall very first, asking that they continue without her because she understands perfectly well that this makes sense. In the hallway, a lady asks how the child got to the dining room. As soon as Renithus started talking, he constantly calls the woman Mom. If you leave everything as it is, people may misunderstand and start spreading gossip. The young master should stop behaving like this so as not to create problems. The kid assures that this is definitely his mother since he prayed, and then she appeared. The girl does not suspect that she saved him. Even so, they are not relatives. To prevent the boy from crying further, it is best to try to force him to call him by his name. Adele will try to improve her situation. The woman continues to try to persuade her ward to address her differently. The Duke appeared at the end of the corridor and called his friend to pay attention. Very frightened, the heroine almost actually fell, but in the end she was caught by a man at the last second. He asks if everything is okay. Apparently the guy came because he was worried about Renithus, which is the good part. The brunette thanks His Highness for helping her. Letting the beauty go, the guy asks to be more careful because she could simply break her head. Pulling away, the heroine assures that everything will be fine with her. The hand remains on the waist, which makes it uncomfortable. Adele asks His Highness why he came into the corridor and left the princess. The girl always forgets to take care of herself, so we have to help her with this. It was the heroine who hurriedly left without even eating properly. Since they are all gathered together, the best solution would be to go to the young Duke's chambers. The girl passes the child into the arms of the father. In the future, the lady can be addressed informally, since she is simply helping and not working on the estate. The brunette standing around the corner is angry at the way the beauty is behaving. An old man rushes into the room ready to tear and throw with anger. The Duke dared to make his yet-to-be-debuted daughter a mistress or something like that. On top of everything, the Virgin gave birth to a child illegally, or at least that's what they say. The brunette dared to leave, leaving the Count all alone to deal with Denbane, who was not in the mood. The Duke's son is more important than the princess, and that's all he has to say about it. He should have at least said something before leaving, but it seems the young man doesn't really care. At this rate, Zephyr will burst from anger, so the beauty decides to begin saving the situation by asking her father for forgiveness. They discussed how Renithus managed to get to the dining hall without outside help. The story with the mistress is worse than what could have been imagined, but rumors had already spread throughout the estate without any problems, only making it faster. Many say that in fact the baby did not come from an egg, as everyone initially thought he is the child of Elkinas and a certain lady from a small aristocratic family who liked him. According to the others, the young man was unable to forget the maiden and brought his beloved, who did not even know the basic rules of decency, to the estate as a nanny. The Duke reminds that this is just gossip that does not have a drop of truth in it. The old man lowers his head, sighing heavily, because perhaps to some extent this is true. Until some point no one believed what was said, but exactly until the moment when the duo began to reinforce it with their bad behavior. The princess personally witnessed how they hugging disappeared like a real married couple. It's as if they decided to take Zephyr to the next world, although the Duke notes that representatives of the dragon family live quite a long time. The girl standing behind does not believe that she has become the main character of the rumors that Ollie and Lena talked about. Now everyone believes that she really is the mother of the child. Besides gossip, there are much more important matters. Since the father has returned, he simply has to look at what the girl offers to see. A spell was discovered in the forest. Not much time has passed since the creation of the talismans, and it seems that the last revolt has disintegrated on its own fanatics, made a new one. As expected, the sheet is full of inscriptions that attract trouble to children under 3 years of age. After the birth of a child, the family's situation worsens, and the child himself stops growing normally. Renithus definitely stopped growing precisely because someone cast a spell on him that he could no longer be anything good. The girl asks to look at something else. Taking out something red, the lady says that the thing was at the crime scene. She thought it might help in finding the culprit. On the badge is the seal of the county of Cephalo, which the girl immediately recognizes. No one could just throw it away, thereby leaving traces behind. It feels like someone wanted to make you suspect the gender. The real culprit is most likely an outsider who harbors a grudge against their family or one of their own who decides to betray the family. In any case, the Count heard that Safilo put many things on the black market due to the deterioration of the family's financial situation. If your strength is completely exhausted, even an outsider can obtain the seal. There is nothing surprising in the fact that the young man knows about what is happening. Irene is under control, and they are the Duke's subordinates, which makes sense. If so, Adele will finally make her debut. First, you need to find out more by asking the Safilo family for support. But according to the brunette, this will not happen. In order not to go anywhere, the debut will be right at the estate where they are located. The support of those people will not be needed if you organize everything on your own. Sitting with the child in his arms, the Count asks his friend what she was thinking about doing, as the Duke asks will only fuel the rumors that she is a mistress. It already seems to Zephyr that his friend did this on purpose. If desired, Elkinas could cope with the search for bunt or bait on his own. It seems he just didn't want it. The soil could be turned over with a sacred sword, and everything would be much simpler. Virgo suggests that by using Kelfin, Elkinas's powers are greatly weakened, and nothing can be done about it. Psychological problems can have a big impact, and the young man is not himself. What is happening was planned a long time ago, but they are still waiting for the Duke to fall. The boy is also a person, and that is why they are obliged to help him. Zephyr sighs again and laments something about how the girl has always been weak in front of her friend. The blonde hears the baby muttering something. He has long fallen asleep, but he can't stop talking. There is something sweet about him, unlike his dad, who is completely different. The maiden knew that Zephyr would like Renithus, and judging by the way he behaved, it was true. The child is incredibly susceptible to the energy of spirits, just like Elkinas, into whom he went. Pontiac not only looks like its father, but is also much calmer. He had already driven away the summoned Aerie several times with just one movement of his hand without any effort. No matter how much a boy looks like there is a limit to what is possible for someone hatched from an egg, it's almost impossible to be born with that much power. This could happen if the spirit immediately fell in love with the baby. A child who was born from Kunturna, known for her compatibility with spirits which made her different from others. Lowering his head, the old man tries to calm down. They should slowly remember everything that happened to Renithus starting from his birth. An idea came to mind that urgently needs to be translated into reality and checked what is happening. The boy is a little tired, so he'll go to bed early. The man should have been resting, but instead he rushes forward without stopping. He does not know what could be the reason for his high susceptibility to spirit energy if not this. Even Elkinas could not do such a thing. Although if you think about it, just such a person could do such a thing and behave so horribly. An abnormal person is capable of anything. Zephyr bursts into the room. He is asked about manners, but this is not the most important thing, at least. For now, a warrior must answer one question. It seems that the young man put something else into Kunturna's egg besides his blood. It doesn't fit with how things should be, so it just had to be asked. Despite the fact that unlike other dragons, compatibility with spirits tended to zero, Renithus, who emerged from an egg, has greater power than Oren. It seems that there is a piece of the girl inside. The Duke smiled slightly, saying that they thought so much alike. Still, do not underestimate the insight of a dragon who has lived in this world for a long time and knows everything. Zephyr grabs the man's tie. I can't believe that someone could do such disgusting things to Aaron's body. Perhaps it seems to a friend that he was conducting some strange experiments on him. I remember how the boy was looking for the girl's spiritual sphere when they met, like a person who would be ready to resurrect the flesh if the soul were nearby. Even the beauty's best friend wouldn't do this, so there's no point in being indignant. The body was burned about 20 years ago. What was said is not very different from the truth. The man kept Erin for about 60 years so that he could resurrect her, but after all the regrets he had experienced, he finally realized that he could not meet her again. After accepting reality, the guy was able to let the beauty go. He remembered her words that one day she would like to fly freely around the world without any borders. The brunette fulfilled his cherished wish, because only he was able to fulfill it. It is unclear why Elkinas beat the guy and demanded that he give up the sphere despite the fact that he did not even have a physical form. Most of what happened to vent anger and out of jealousy. The comrade in arms did not expect that this would be the reason to break his ribs. Compared to the fact that only the blonde was the guardian of the girl's peace, ribs are simply nothing. The worst possible scenario for the situation was avoided. In this case, the young man used the ashes of Irene. After he said goodbye to her, every day was hell. It was not possible to put the yearning heart in order. It was at that moment that the hero decided to donate his blood and the ashes of Irene to the Kunturna egg. Although it was a spontaneous act, the egg could no longer be fertilized, and with his actions, the Duke was only trying to drown out the mental pain. But after a year or two, unusual energy began to emanate. When the 5th year began, a miracle happened in the form of Renithus being born. The blonde obviously got it all wrong because he started thinking about something completely different without even thinking about it. Elenis is not just abnormal but already hopeless. The guy, of course, won't object, and there's no need to worry about the young master's safety either. He'll be fine. The brunette promises that at all costs he will protect their common child who demands only better treatment. The girl would be happy to know what is happening. Zephyr isn't sure if he should be happy about how things are going or sad, but he decides to forget about it for now. It was the friend's turn to ask. It is strange that the child who contains the desire's blood and ashes of Irene calls the Count's daughter mother. She has exactly the same habits and uses the name that the girl adored. Oddly enough, the taste preferences of those two are also the same, which is a little confusing. The hero, dodging the question, suggests that the favorite spirits are all a little similar to each other. The Duke asks why the man is running away, but he states that he is not familiar with this. The hand is already on the doorknob, and this is because the conversation was over. His daughter is not Irene. It may be possible to learn more once the heart is fully open to the child. The guy doesn't understand what this nonsense is because the habit of beating around the bush manifests itself in the best possible way. After all that has been said, the young man is about to quickly leave. As soon as the door slams, the guy scratches his chin thoughtfully. It's strange that a friend cannot claim that he and Adele have absolutely nothing in common. The girl went for a walk with Renithus. In the end, it so happened that she called Ventus the last one. There are already worries about how much he will grumble. By lifting a leaf up, the maiden summons the wind, which gives breath and makes life dance. She asks to show before her the very wonderful appearance that she deserves to see. The Wind Spirit King finally appeared happy that his friend had finally called him. She and Irene have not seen each other for a very long time, which makes the meeting more pleasant. Virgo stretches her hands forward, saying that she missed her very much. Everything seems to be much better than expected, but then Ventus begins to ask why he was the last one to be called little. Did he think that they had forgotten about him? It seems that during the time the couple did not see each other, the friend developed the habit of postponing meeting with those whom you usually miss. The brunette knows it's time to apologize. Finally, it was all over, so the man says he is glad to see the girl healthy. After much persuasion, he finally signed the contract that was offered. The girl does not go out alone, because a friend suddenly hears a child's voice coming from the side. This is a child of Elenis named Renithus. The man says that the baby is not only a warrior. Obviously, the beauty did not hear anything from Zephyr. Unlike him, who is able to hear all the sounds of the world, apparently, the lady is not yet in the know. Ventus could have told it directly, but he decided to say that he had to ask the dragon about everything, and if he decided so, then of course he could tell the true story. The baby runs towards her and grabs her dress to hug her. Apparently, this is a warrior's child. He has a good sensitivity to the magic of spirits, so he seems to see the arriving king. Poking out from behind the hem, the brunette only says that his acquaintance is ugly. He's pretty cocky to say something like that after meeting a great man. The sense of beauty is rather poorly developed. It was surprising how the boy was able to see the spirit without making a contract, but it was to be expected from someone who was the result of the 3 most powerful creatures. This is exactly what remains to be asked, because in addition to Elenis, there is something else more foreign in Renithia. Ventus says he has to go because he doesn't want to explain himself. The spirit evaporated just as the brunette quietly called for his mother. He wants to ask why that uncle called Adele a certain Irene, which is generally a little similar. We need to deal with problems that arise out of the blue as soon as possible. What happened must be their secret, which only 2 people know. The kid, hearing only about them, immediately smiles. In this case, They must make a promise to each other, even though the boy will be doing this for the first time. They will swear to each other to be sure not to tell anyone anything. In order for everything to work out, you need to intertwine your little fingers. Rinny jumps for joy, promising that she will remain silent. You can't tell anyone, so you should head back to the estate where you came from. Everything went quite well, so there is no reason to worry. On the way back, the girl met the princess again. They began to meet too often. The girl bends down and greets Her Majesty, who smiles back, trying to remain as friendly as possible to the others. It's now a pleasure to greet the lady. You have to work hard to eliminate the shortcomings that remain in order to become ideal. The lady wants to leave, ignoring the clue and wishing her a pleasant walk. Since the friends have met, they can immediately drink a cup of tea. The girl doesn't understand how this happened, but now they are already sitting having a pleasant conversation, just the two of them. Of course, the beauty agreed because there was absolutely no reason to say no, but now she is terribly nervous from realizing the situation. A million questions are spinning in my head about why the maiden called Imturn to talk. Perhaps the whole problem is that Elkinas caught the lady when she almost fell. According to Zephyr, the princess saw the couple. Sipping a little more, the girl shakes her head, saying that black tea is especially delicious. It's nice that in the duchy you have the opportunity to drink something like this almost every day. Obviously, mini tea parties are arranged for the nanny almost every day because it's much easier. Denbean seems a little perplexed. In Irene, they treat guests very hospitably, even those who are not from such a magnificent aristocratic family. In any case, there is no problem with this. The brunette chuckles and then, lowering her voice, says that the interlocutor should feel good since such an attitude is towards her. There is something special about this. Adele doesn't understand what's wrong with Her Highness's face. Uillian seems to be treated differently by the way she acts. There was no need to write out all the details. The girl noticed that the lady did not even add milk to her tea. As you know, she doesn't like anything very sweet, so sugar and cream are almost never used either. The same smile is on the face again when something is said about the fact that in the place where the beauty came from, such things are considered delights. It's a pity that due to her surroundings, Erin is deprived of the opportunity to taste the delicate taste. This is just a personal preference stemming from constant consumption of herbal tea since childhood. The princess makes unfounded conclusions and shows pity. I want to say something about the words, but the lady is interrupted again. Denbean doesn't think she said anything mean, so she simply asks for forgiveness, suggesting they move on. It's time to get to the point. The aristocrats have already left, even without orders. Obviously, this is something so important that it was necessary to send away the tame friends, who are always nearby. The woman should already be aware of the rumors that are circulating around the estate about her person. They are related to Renithus, and to tell the truth, at first, the princess also considered Adele a mother. It all came together when the lady disappeared from that very dinner with the Duke. The brunette heard the relationship between the nanny and the Pontiac family, so she calmed down. The Count told all the details. The families had bonded over the hunt, and due to the blonde's lack of money, the duchy had offered to help organize the debut. Nodding and smiling, the girl agrees that her father said everything correctly. The only joy is that Zephyr still managed to come up with some kind of excuse. Incredibly, the Pontiac family in its cruelty crossed all the boundaries of what was permitted, which were violated even earlier. The brunette opens her mouth in bewilderment. In fact, at first glance, it may seem that the Pontiac family is very noble, but they take advantage of impoverished petty aristocrats who come for help. The Duke labeled the young lady, who had not even made her debut, as a mistress who gave birth to an illegitimate child. If the story becomes known in secular circles, no one will be held accountable for the damaged reputation. What is happening looks more like the princess is trying to take advantage of the maiden hiding behind concern. She interprets everything as she wants and tries to manipulate. Imturn raises her hand, trying to attract attention, saying that there was a misunderstanding, but she was interrupted, saying that she had long ago fallen on Elkinas' daughter. Stretching out her hand, the girl wraps her fingers around it, saying that nothing bad will happen. In order to feel better, you just have to look into your eyes. The same color that has already been seen before is visible inside around the pupil. They look like flickering flames, as if you continue to watch, there will be nothing left to do but find yourself under hypnosis. The girl didn't just imagine it, because she realized quite quickly that the princess was really trying to impose hypnosis, which had almost snuck inside. It is not at all clear for what purpose Denbean herself wants to do this. Some of her actions defy logic at all, no matter how strange it may be. Be that as it may, the brunette is too tough for her as she has a strong immunity to mental attacks. In order to find out what the beauty wants to get, the best option is to simply play along. Rising from her seat, the princess points. The girl will be taken advantage of and kicked out of the archduchy, but she is incredibly lucky since the heroine, so be it, agrees to help for free. The lady doesn't know how best to pretend to be hypnotized, so she simply asks again, making a dull look. The brunette will help because she is on the side of her friend. It seemed that Denbine hated the beauty, but now she assures that she behaved this way because she was dear to her. She was sad because her friend couldn't cope. People are two-faced, and this has even been said out loud. There was a mistake, so the heroine decides to correct herself as quickly as possible before things get worse. She asks for forgiveness, but it seems that even this is not at all what is worth saying. Obviously, hypnosis also has a strange effect on strange people. The princess thinks that this also happens, so she brushes it off with her hands. The duke's speeches are similar to the whispering of an insidious serpent. He will seduce the nanny with sweet speeches and push her to the very bottom from where it will no longer be possible to get out. The Virgo extends her hand closer and, finding herself nearby, orders a report on all the conversations and topics that were discussed a little earlier. The smile becomes even more sinister when Uillian asks not to miss a single word. Now the lady will serve only her because otherwise things will not be done. Zephyr did not believe the story Adele managed to become the princess's personal maid while she pretended to be hypnotized. The girl tries to calm her raging friend. It would be strange if an ordinary aristocrat became immune to this kind of magic, and even more so if she managed to find out what Denbane wants. It has already become clear that the lady has both the sacred power of foresight and such a forbidden spell as hypnosis. Uillian is definitely hiding something if he acts like this. There is some meaning in the friend's words, but the man does not understand at all whether she is right. I want to scream from the hopelessness in which they both found themselves. The baby jumps up from the floor, although he has been playing all this time, and shouts that grandfather should not offend his mother. Zephyr immediately objects, although he continues to call Adele not quite by name. Renithus has been getting good at being treated the right way lately, so the girl squats down and tries to get him to say his name. The boy says something incomprehensible, but after the brunette assures that she is not his mother, he rushes into his arms, repeating the same thing over and over again. The blonde interjects, asking the child to call him whatever his friend wants. It's not clear what changed the opinion, because the guy was against the rumors more than everyone else. The words were indeed spoken earlier, but apparently the opinion has changed. The hero has no idea how he can explain what he heard in the Duke's office. Everything is more serious than it seemed because you cannot ask Erin to listen carefully and not be surprised that the ashes of her mortal body were used for the birth of Renithus. Therefore, from a biological point of view, she is still a mother. In truth, the brunette herself does not mind being called that way, and not by name, but the gossip that is being spread gets in the way, spoiling the impression. The heart is ready to melt when the girl is next to Renithus. Surely the feelings would be just as warm if the lady were next to her child whom she gave birth to. When the time comes to leave the estate, I would like to simply grab the baby and take him with me, not allowing the Duke to leave him near him. Turning to Zephyr, the lady wonders why he has such a confused expression on his face, which is strangely different. He is confused, so the face is exactly the same. Ventus said something about the birth of Renithus, which involved 3 powerful people. Only Elkinas and Kunturna are known so far. The girl even tried to find out who the third person was, but the young man preferred to remain alone and therefore quickly retreated, leaving his interlocutor. It seems that what the man is hiding is somehow connected with that very story. It would be better if we could find out more, but the blonde does not make contact. I want to get angry again because the King of the Wind first leaves some riddles and then disappears somewhere, completely ignoring what is happening. Obviously, this is the first time the dragon has heard about what was said, which is why he behaves this way. He himself is interested, but for now the conversation is interrupted by the snippet. The letter arrived just in time, or more precisely 2 pieces at once. Virgo is interested in what is written in the message while the friend begins to read. An ordinary dragon who went through his first transformation stopped sending any reports at all, completely ignoring other people. The boy was found nearby, so the couple will have to go looking for him. There is news that the Sefilo family's property will be auctioned tomorrow. To discover the culprit who imposed the curse, you will have to take part, and it is better to get there in advance. The plan has already been laid out and is ready to be shared. What the young man came up with will be quite simple to implement. The Count will buy Sophilo's exhibited property, and then they will pretend to be nice and return everything back. In this way, it will be possible to find out more about the family in question. It shouldn't be anything complicated, and this seems like a good plan. The girl nods in agreement, but then is still interested in what items will be at the auction, since she herself does not know Zephyr is sure that the things are extremely interesting. One of the items on display will be a magical artifact that was used in the campaign against Conturna, Curtain of Fire. The talisman was used by Earl Darcy, and upon hearing the name, the brunette lights up with an idea. The items previously belonged to this man. The surname initially seemed suspiciously familiar, but now it is clear that the person belongs to the family that ruined others. The young man was so noble that Aaron still has many pleasant memories that make him want to smile. During battles, a man was always part of the vanguard, and supporting a curtain of fire served as a reliable shield for everyone else. Unlike the rest of the aristocrats, his friend was worried about his warriors. The lady did not think that proof of the feats accomplished to protect the world would be sold. Even Zephyr was a little upset. The girl suddenly lights up with the idea of ransoming the Veil without taking into account the search for the criminal. Items of this nature usually cost upwards of 200 million, but championing a good cause is no easy feat. The day came when the couple went to that very place. When they first arrived where they arrived, everyone was just preparing for the festival, but now everything is even more amazing than before. The atmosphere around makes you rejoice and feel as if everything will be fine. The festival will be large-scale. Zephyr, walking behind, thinks about what he can do later. The auction starts only at night, which means that before it you can go for a little walk, exploring all the surroundings. The sorceress looks around and doesn't know where to start. There are too many interesting things around that take your breath away. It will be extremely difficult to concentrate. On the stand hangs a poster about the production about the defender of the arena. It seems that the scene there is Ultium, which everyone began to gradually forget about. There are a lot of big words written on the sheet that actually mean nothing. Shuddering emotions will not actually even show up on the face. Zephyr remains skeptical, but it seems that her friend wants things to be a little different, and that's why she suggests they enjoy the scene together. Leaflets and reality are still very different. All street performances are organized at the expense of enthusiasts who are usually discussed. Apart from the duo, there is no one else in the room, which seems a little strange. Virgo speaks about what is happening too early because another man with scarlet hair is sitting in front. The performance begins. The second battle of Ultium took place about 80 years ago. With a smile on her face, the lady recalls that it was led by Gaedor and Hanaya, who then did everything right. Gaedor himself especially stood out, who, despite being seriously wounded in the previous battle, quickly rushed into battle ready to sacrifice everything to protect his comrades. An action unfolds on stage that was once reality. A man attacks another who is his opponent. Trying to restrain himself, the dragon nevertheless begins to laugh because the acquaintance turned out to be completely bald. The girl notices lack of tolerance. The man apologizes, but also thinks that baldness is a bit too much beauty, that's for sure. The appearance is really very different from the real thing. Due to the incredible similarity in actions and manner of speech, it is possible to immerse oneself in the present, despite the unpretentiousness of the production. Hania enters the stage. This little girl fought so hard that Gaedor might have died in that battle if not for her. The blonde asks the enchantress for help. If nothing is done, the man may actually die because he has no strength left. Physical strength runs out again and again, just like magic, which is already running out. Hanaya begins to cry, saying that she is terribly scared. The girl asks him to pull himself together and pour strength into the man until the last moment, since this is what he can do to help. The friend still objects and believes that it is better to stop the guy before his body is completely engulfed in fire. The chosen ending belongs to the hero. Gaedor would do everything, so that in the end there would be not disappointment and regret, but pride and honor. If the team respects their friend as an important character, then they must accept the decision to sacrifice their life. Being in their place, everyone must help the guy fight so that there are no regrets left. The sorceress will definitely give her all and help the guy fight, but Hanaya must decide for herself. The girl remembers how she met her friend at night. He noticed that the maiden could not sleep, and, as it turned out, This was because of the battle that they were facing. The baby is like her younger sister because she is also afraid of everything, and both have a very soft character. Before leaving his homeland, his brother made a doll in a hurry. The little thing turned out to be very scary, but the girl fell asleep every night holding it in her hands and said that when she looked at it, it seemed as if, thanks to Gaydor, she managed to gain courage. The guy also made another copy for the blonde, which he is now passing on so that Hanaya can get a little strength and courage, which she sorely lacks. The woman is not going to give up. She would never leave her comrade to die because it was her turn to give the man strength in this battle. Everyone believes that the joint work of Elkinas and Aren bore fruit, but at that moment the girl looked the strongest of all of them, wanting to protect everyone. Together, the people on stage defeated the demon Pierce. The sorceress woke up after Zephyr called her because it seems that the performance was already over. The man sitting forward before leaving notes that the performance does not take into account reality and what is happening. It really wasn't as entertaining as expected. In the end, everything worked out just wonderfully, so it couldn't have been better. The girl needs to see something before they go to the estate. There is a beautiful statue of Jamil in the main square. During her lifetime, she built Strandfield Hall and created a security detachment called the Warrior's Cry. The brunette almost wants to cry with joy. The friend is simply incredible, and it would be nice to be with her in these very moments of pleasure. Below on the stone are indicated the merits that the beauty has. Jamil is the best tracker who received the surname Denbine for what she managed to bring to reality. The name of this Hall Strandfield comes from the name of the favorite medicinal plant of Aaron's close friend. They talk about a girl, but for some reason they mention Adele too often because she was the first person to whom her heart was opened. It could all have started from the very day they decided to pull each other's hair out. To this remark, the beauty only smiles and agrees. The girl remembers that when they fought, no one was nearby. In his defense, the boy claims that he read it in his memoirs. Nothing adds up because all the parts were sold at auction. Books describing the first 2 years are kept in the main library in the public domain. Virgo is amazed that half of the inhabitants of Irene know about the quarrels. Zephyr led the beauty to the library exactly as she herself wished. Now you will be able to see with your own eyes all that horror on the sheets. The first episode, with the girl's participation, begins at the bottom of one of the pages where Zephyr points with his finger in order to further understand more. The first sentence begins too aggressively because the friend calls Aaron terrible and promises that she will definitely kill her very soon. A scene is described when acquaintances stood opposite each other and glared at each other. Jamil clearly said that she would not eat, but the heroine decided to insist, following all the way to the end of the clearing. The beauty holds out a plate, saying that she specially put aside some fresh food so that she could eat. The answer is a stream of anger that is insanely disturbing. The woman is even disgusted to look at it, so she knocks over what was poured. No one said that she was very hungry at all. There's nothing wrong with skipping one meal, so don't worry so much about it and make a big deal out of it. Disappointment freezes in the brunette's eyes. She looks at the meat that Gaydor hunted for so long just so they wouldn't be hungry. The mushrooms were collected together with Hania, and it took time. The girl can no longer hold back, grabbing her friend by the neck and hitting her with her forehead and head. She doesn't realize the value of the food she has. The head begins to spin, which makes it much more difficult to maintain balance. The woman has no idea how much time and effort it took to prepare the dish. It seems as if Jamil is expected to thank her, but in reality, nothing needs to be said for this. All Aaron asks is not to skip meals. They fought almost to the death, so everyone in the group needed to eat well for their own sake. If you don't do basic things, you won't be able to survive. The girl is terribly annoyed by the character trait that her friend has, so she begins to get angry, grabbing her hair. The brunette pretends that she is all kind and sweet, but this is not the case at all. The swearing continues until they both get tired and fall to the ground, exhausted. It wasn't easy. The spellcaster had an inordinate amount of strength. Definitely the maiden acted vilely and endowed her body with the power of spirits. I can't believe that a person can have such a strong body. All the knuckles are knocked down because of what happened between them. Getting up, the lady promises that from tomorrow, they will begin to eat regularly together so that they have the strength to fight together. At the end of the page, Jamil insults her friend again. If you write something like this, everyone will really think that the lady is obsessed with food. It is better to fight well-fed, so Imturn does not see his guilt. It was painful for the girl to look at her starving comrades, so she tried her best. On the next sheet, it is written that they have become a little closer, so it would be worth writing something good so as not to seem shameless. Jamil writes that a battle awaits the team in the morning. Attacks from cursed demons are incredibly nerve-wracking. The pain is present, but Erin's fists hit more painfully. The heroine had a minor injury, so she managed to cope on her own. A clergywoman came from afar, small as a pea. The baby said something and healed the wound. Having become part of the central forces of the detachment, the lady received such treatment that she had no opportunity to receive throughout her life. I wish that one day the world would become friendly for poor people too. The problem again was the dinner that was served. As soon as evening came, that crazy woman came to check whether her friend was eating or not. She doesn't care about breakfast and lunch since she doesn't check as carefully. The brunette smiles, noticing that Jamil is now eating well. She suggests that from then on, they all eat together since they can do it. The girl would like to share a meal, nothing special was said, but treacherous tears welled up in my eyes which could no longer be stopped. Perhaps the whole problem is that from early childhood the ladies were told about the lack of food and could even be beaten. The lady does not remember ever enjoying a warm meal alone with someone. I had to be patient, but the feeling was not easy. Aaron notices Elenis, so he jumps up. It seems that these two meet once or stick to each other at any opportunity. From now on, you should enjoy your food to the fullest. On the exhausting battlefield it is worth, at least eating normally, and this will in no case be because of a new girlfriend. The girl closes the book. After reading the notes, the beauty feels more strange, as if everything happened just yesterday. She misses Jamil terribly. The sorceress became interested, so she even wanted to read the next volume. Zephyr interrupts everything, reminding them that the auction they came for is starting very soon. The brunette, while reading, didn't even notice how quickly time flies, which, in fact, is almost gone. It's worth hurrying. On her way out, the lady wonders if the dragon collected memoirs, some of which he showed her. He tried once, but every time someone like a ghost took the publication first. There will be a segment with Elenis and Irene at the event today, so maybe it's best to try your luck. I want to read books that are not available to the public. The road to the venue is quite confusing. It seems that this is all due to the fact that what is being carried out is not entirely legal. The couple themselves did not notice how they found themselves in front of the door. This is an auction house run by the Stranfield Foundation. Already at the entrance you can feel the vulgarity, but then they are already inside. All that remains is to sort out the formalities, and you will be able to attend officially like all the other people around. The servant standing at the entrance confirms the documents of the arrivals and announces that they are officially their guests who will proceed further. All participants are given a special ribbon, which must be tied on their right wrist as some kind of sign. The face of the man standing nearby looks painfully familiar, which makes everything inside shrink with a strange feeling. It seems as if Jamil is standing in front of the girl in male form. The two are truly similar to each other, like droplets of water. The young man politely asks what the beauty needs and why she is so interested. The lady says that the hero looks like a statue from the outside, and she knows that the friend is the boy's great-grandmother. I can't imagine how the lady got married and left behind descendants. The tape ends up on the hand. It seems to mean that the owner was robbed. The moment Jamil came up with it, it was so. Currently, only direct descendants know about the true meaning, but it is strange how the beauty herself learned about everything. Then she claims that she saw it in a book. Erin, of course, could not say which publication contained the information, so she hastily left, grabbing the Count by the hand and dragging him further. The guy examines the thing. This is a kind of signal that thieves exchange among themselves, and it was invented by a warrior 80 years ago. When someone had their entire property stolen from them in an alley, they had to tie this ribbon on as if to harm them, but at the same time offering help. I have never seen anything like this at government auctions. The thing is used only in underground organizations, and then there is a possibility that the meaning is completely different. It seems that the ribbon means that the guest is a non-entity, but you can take his things. They take advantage of the fact that it will not be possible to report the items sold since what is happening is illegal. Erin's fantasy flew in the wrong direction. The main man of this organization takes the stage, thanking everyone for taking the time to visit the place that night. There are plenty of things prepared for everyone to enjoy without rushing. The girl immediately feels too excited. Under no circumstances should they miss out on the very bracelet they agreed on. It all ended too quickly, but due to some crazy person constantly raising the price, the Veil of Fire cost 100 million more. The memoirs were sold for 1,000 million, so it was impossible to even look at them. The blonde is ready to cry because everything in the end did not go according to plan, from beginning to end. Virgo tries to assure that everything is fine because they still managed to get an important thing. The scarlet dragon standing around the corner hears the couple talking, so he pulls the bag over his head and jumps around the corner. If they give up the artifact, they will live. In order not to try to conquer what should not be, the lady must make it clear to the boy that it is he who should worry about his safety. Stepping on the ground, you can see how the asphalt begins to crumble. The kid took aim from behind the tape. There are too many flaws in the movements for a professional thief, and judging by the fact that he targeted the veil he was watching who received it inside. First, you should look at the boy's handsome face to understand who he is. After the brunette's words, he abruptly removes the bag from his head. Under the mask was the same man with scarlet hair. He was recently seen at a festival as he was the only spectator. The young man is released because if anything happens, he will run away. His name is Carlyle, and he is a collector who collects documents and artifacts related to the campaign against Conterna, and especially those related to the arenas. The reason is to steal because in the documents they wrote that the heroine touched the thing, so he definitely needs to take possession of it. Threats didn't work, so whining was used. The young man does not ask for a thing for nothing because in exchange he can fulfill any desire. The secret cannot be revealed, but in fact the guy is a great creature. Given the perceived energy, which oddly enough does not go anywhere, the lady is no longer sure that this is not true. Marshmallow can't stand it anymore and breaks down. He was looking for the boy and did not decide to use the dragon's oath to get the bracelet. Obviously, the parents tried in vain. An oath is a verbal magic that can only be used by members of the ancient dragon family. A person puts his stay in the new world on the line and utters the words once. Whatever the content, he is obliged to follow it. No matter how immature the boy is, he has no right to swear like that and fulfill someone's wish, especially when people first met. The man realized too late that the Lord himself was standing in front of him. The boy uses a different appearance for the first time, but decided not to even send reports. Forcing him to kneel, Zephyr calls on the guy to raise his hands up, forbidding him to use a pitying look. The girl realized that this was the same dragon that was mentioned in the snippets. The Lord should be honored, not Irene. The reason for the anger seems strange. The guy begins to literally serenade the girl and talk about how wonderful she is. Adele becomes embarrassed to listen. In any case, there is no way to give away the bracelet. Carlyle should have apologized for his recent behavior before doing anything different. No matter how much the dragon wants to get this thing, threats and intentions to take it away from a person cannot be called correct behavior. Because of such a trifle, the Virgo forces the dragon to apologize, which will not work at all. As far as words go, it's not about race. Although the lady accompanies the Lord, she will not take this fact into account. Promising that she will take note of the words spoken, the heroine says that she still wants to hear the words, "Even in ignorance of your place, you need to know when to stop." The young man calls on strength, intending to rid Aaron of his insolence. Until the very end, the girl tried to solve everything with words, but nothing could be done. Zephyr only allows you to do something simple. No matter what this is, the new cub of the Crimson Dragon tribe, so he has always been treated with love. If all the words are true, then the lady is obliged to teach the guy how to apologize to people right now. Within 10 minutes, Carlyle was on his knees, apologizing for his cruelty and asking for forgiveness. The boy sincerely repents, and the couple agrees that this is the first time they have seen someone with talent for this business and such courage. Since a young man desires forgiveness and remains sincere, that is exactly what he will receive. Before getting to his feet, he asks a question. Perhaps it just seems, but the girl is somehow connected with Lady Irene, judging by the way she behaves and the power she has. The way Adele dealt with the boy a little earlier, skillfully commanding the spirits, is very similar to the described image of the sorceress during the Battle of Gothel. The boy does not intend to back down, so he continues to ask, while assuring that the beauty is definitely connected with Irene. The spellcasters have similar energies, and that's the only explanation Carlyle gets. The girl is tired, so she wants to leave. Before Zephyr is going to accompany her, he orders all reports to be sent in the future. If the boy continues to make adults worry, he will be found along with his girlfriend's fist. There are no other options left. The man looks at the actions outside the window intently without looking away. The servant distracts him by asking where the director is looking. There was a small commotion in the alley which we managed to observe. Everything ended well. Since nothing threatens the world, the servants are about to leave. The man wants a thorough investigation to be carried out regarding Count Imtern and his daughter, who took part in the auction. There is no point in postponing the matter, so the servant bows, promising that he will prepare a detailed report by morning. No matter how you look, too many thoughts are running through your head because everything is very suspicious. Not only is the lady well aware of the origin of the thief's tape, but she is also fluent in the art of close combat and spirit magic. The girl was incredibly tired. They have been on their feet since the morning, so there is nothing unusual. In the courtyard, the couple meets Elenis. The man left for a short time on business, but has not yet said what exactly. The blonde raises an eyebrow skeptically. He watched a fool buy a bracelet for 300 million. Awareness comes very quickly, so the man begins to be indignant. He has no idea how much damage the dragon has suffered. His Highness was the one who gradually increased the price. As it turned out, the Duke also came. Some people asked to buy something for kindling, perhaps because the books were old. They burned just fine. Zephyr quickly realized that we were talking about the very diaries that were bought for a lot of money. Kindling for 1 billion comes out of a number of normal things. It's quite late, so the Duke volunteers to escort Lady Adele to her chambers. A man is immediately kicked out like this. The couple left rather quickly, although in the end the Count continued to spit venom, indignant at the fact that he was being left outside the estate. There is silence all around, and then the lady interrupts it. It took her quite a long time to realize that Jamil's memoirs were the kindling, a little embarrassed by what she managed to understand. Only now, the brunette awkwardly scratches the back of her head and asks for forgiveness for this. A smile appears on the guy's face. If you don't know something, you can simply ask a friend so as not to rack your brains again. The girl thanks you for your understanding. Her father often scolds her for this character trait, which is not entirely good. The lady unconsciously looked at her friend. Things are exactly the same with a friend. Usually things that literally everyone had already understood came to him a little later than to others. The Virgin heard that Jamil was a wonderful thief, and this was probably known to the young man who collected her memoirs. It remains to be assumed that the man was in love. The Duke collects the diaries because he does not want the information written there to be made public, because there is a promise between him and her. During her lifetime, the girl completed the construction of the hall and the formation of a security detachment, but this required a huge amount of money. Initially, the promise was a little different, but now it is not possible to keep it since everything around has changed its course. I remember the day when a friend came to Irene to tell her something she had news about Elenis that was urgent. The girl, smiling, said that she asked the man to take responsibility for her life because this seems to be the most acceptable option. Jamil did this because she has a grand plan. It takes a lot of money to bring it to life, and that's the problem. The beauty thought that she could simply ask for help from one acquaintance, and he, of course, is the friend who has already been mentioned. If things went wrong, the maiden would not be able to return the money. And when the Duke was told about this, he sent the lady straight to a friend. The further it goes, the less the lady understands what the point is. When the adventure ends, the girl will be the only one who will remain next to him, no matter how much he wants it. The couple really agreed that they would never leave each other, but this was just a promise to invite a friend living in the village to their place. A serious decision should not be made by an acquaintance, but rather by a future bride who has much more rights in relation to what is happening. The girl feels sick even at the thought of marriage, so Irene has to shut up. Anyone in the squad will say that they have a close relationship with Elenis, but then the girl says something like that. Adele watched many times as the couple disappeared together in an unknown direction. It has long been no secret what the relationship is between them, so there is no need to hide. The only thing that the beauty does not understand is her feelings, because she is not a small child to feel jealous of a friend. It's hard to resist. Noticing the expression on her interlocutor's face, the girl says that she is jealous, but she only receives resistance and screams Jamil will be able to use the information to make a deal with Elenis. The beauty knew that her head was unable to understand what was happening around her, but in this case, her little sister promised that she would help her figure it out. Now Imtern thinks that her friend that day was talking about this very communication that was written in the book, wondering if the girl had fun. The young man hears her happily confirm. She looked at people, visited the library, and even went to a play. At the end of the day, the lady met an unusual dragon. Oddly enough, among these creatures, there seem to be a lot of eccentrics who cannot control themselves. The whole problem is that each of the race lived a long life. The Duke has exactly the same case. Life is absolutely empty, like walking through a cave with no end in sight. Life is so strange that you begin to think that death would be easier because the people who were with you are no longer there. Adele doesn't believe that the guy even dares to think about such a thing. When her friend was dying, she uttered only one word: magnificent. A man often remembers what was said and cannot get it out of his head. The woman saved the whole world, but now she left the Duke alone. Imtern interrupts, asking why bad thoughts come into my head. Irene sacrificed herself to make the warrior happy. For the sake of his girlfriend, the young man is obliged to enjoy life. Happiness is impossible because the very existence of that child was that important part. To Pontiac, the maiden meant everything in the world, so now he doesn't understand how to live a life when there's nothing left. The heroine can't believe that the guy is so lonely when she's not around. Elle is a smart and strong child, and even though sadness over the death of a friend has taken over his heart, he can cope and get back on his feet to move on. The girl did not think that everything would be so bad. She hoped that she would save the world, but perhaps the act was too selfless and selfish. The Duke snaps Adele out of her deep thoughts, asking why she is crying. The lady did not notice how tears rolled down her cheeks. Trying to wipe her face, the brunette apologizes for the way she behaves. While she listened, she didn't realize that she was so emotional. The guy stretches out his hands and places his palms on his cheeks. If you rub so hard, you will end up with marks that you can't get rid of. If you think so, then at the first meeting, the maiden also cried in 3 streams without even justifying her sentimentality. It's all because of Pontiac. After the lady calmed down, the man walked her back to his room. They are in the same building, so you can turn around. Before the heroine leaves, the guy smiles, saying that he never mentioned that friend sacrificed herself for him. I want to run away because now they ask questions, wondering how the beauty herself knows the information. She assures that it all came from her father. Zephyr likes to talk about what happened once, so he almost always does this. Irene curses himself for his chatty mouth that won't shut. In order not to embarrass the girl even more, the man is about to leave under the pretext that it is already quite late. The couple did not suspect, but the princess was watching them from the window almost the entire time, angry that the trash was near the Duke. Bloody Purge is the day when the 6th detachment sent by the Emperor to Elenis, who took possession of the Kunterna egg in order to prevent him, was destroyed in an instant. That day, the man came to the Emperor declaring that this was the last warning. If his life is dear to him, it will be forbidden to interfere in what is happening. All the people gathered in the hall that day were shaking with fear at the appearance of Pontiac, and of course Denbine Jr. was there. The baby's heart also trembled, but only from the feeling of love that gripped her, which she managed to experience almost immediately. The warrior was strong and beautiful. He was very different from the virgin who was born with a weak mind and body and knew nothing but how to envy others. Time passed, and the darkness within inexorably increased. The girl of her own free will summoned a demon and asked for the power to take the lives of those who looked down on her. The brunette didn't understand what she was saying, so she was ready to sell her soul to become the most powerful. The demon promised to help, and grabbing his outstretched hand, the heroine received never-fading beauty and the ability to predict the future. People swarmed around like bees. They bowed down to those who called the girl disgusting, and ending with those who pointed their fingers at her, saying that she was only a blood relative of the Emperor. The only exception was the knight. The young man seemed to have no interest at all, so he didn't even look anywhere at the heroine. The beauty was about an 80-year-old guy and was watching. Now she can understand what he is thinking, even just by seeing his facial expression. The look and smile were definitely a separate form of art, but now the lady doesn't understand why the guy gives all this to some kind of rubbish. In order not to waste time, the lady wants to borrow the power of the demon. There has been no response for the past few days, but today there will be one. Patience is running out, so stretching out her hand, she orders Count Carrick to appear. The darkness begins to thicken in the glass. The woman then disturbed the creature. The brunette screams because she called the owner many times, but he only appeared now. The man made attempts to give an answer, but the estate is filled with divine energy so powerful that even maintaining a conversation in this guise is incredibly difficult. The priests have not come, but the castle is shrouded in something stronger than just such simple power. This is not so important because the lady is talking about the bait and buns that she threw and which did not work. We will have to make changes to the plan due to energy. To resurrect Kunterna, only the boy needs to be left, but the warrior needs to be killed. The princess protests. The demon promised to give it to her in exchange for the help provided, so the word must be kept. Going the long way because of a man who doesn't care is stupid. Uillian's task is simple. She will bring as many strangers as possible to the Duke's estate and hide the fanatics among them. And in this way she will be able to gradually get rid of the magical power. Since this territory is sacred, that even a demon cannot manifest itself, it may be that Elkinis's powers have grown. This is not a Pontiac power because there is a third variable involved that is not talked about. This is someone who has appeared quite recently. Something is definitely wrong with Adele. Fortunately, the princess cast hypnosis last time, but we need to figure out how to make better use of it. If something does not go according to plan, you will have to take action on what can be done next. The glass suddenly bursts. The devil decided to disappear, but did not even try to do it in a normal way, which incredibly angered the beauty. Behind, near the window, the shadow of the Duke's child appeared, and an incredibly bloodthirsty aura appeared in the room which began to strangle the princess. It becomes increasingly difficult to breathe, and under the influence of force you can suffocate. The one who broke the glass and threw out the demon was Renithus. The lungs can again take a full breath while the lady tries to recover. She sees that the body has disappeared somewhere, so she looks around. Ollie comes in for a minute in the morning to check if the beauty slept well. There are bruises under my eyes, so I don't even need to answer. The maid worriedly asks what happened, but she just quietly says that she just didn't get enough sleep. In fact, the lady didn't even sleep a wink. After all the words, the Duke said it was logical. The girl asks to have breakfast alone because she is not entirely hungry. The Duke and Princess are going to have breakfast together, and this information has completely slipped my mind. Her Highness wanted to discuss something important, so she chose a date in advance. Imtern cannot refuse, but now she stands in front of a closed door wondering what she should do next. She has no right to come in. Throwing from side to side, the heroine thinks that she can say that her stomach hurts or just close her eyes and go in. The servant asks to announce the lady's arrival, and she, exhaling, agrees. The brunette smiles, saying that he was expecting Adele, whom he missed to appear. The girl sits down. The princess should have been sitting there since she is higher in status, but this is not important for the Duke. Sitting down on a chair, the girl notices a smile which only makes her even more scary. Uillian must come quickly, so that there is no time to continue the conversation. The day has come when the lady is pleased to see Denbine, who is already entering the dining room after Carlot's announcement. The woman was a little late. She accidentally cut herself with a broken glass, so her hand is bandaged. The process took a little longer. The heroine is trying with all her might to hide the cuts, but there is also a white bandage on her face so that the blood does not flow further. The Duke feigns pity for the girl. For recovery, it would be best to return to the royal palace because this will help significantly. With a nasty smile on her face, the lady thanks for your concern. She will leave only at the end of the ball, which will soon begin at the estate. The conversation is moving in the right direction, so Pontiac announces that it will not be doing anything like this during the event. The woman, without controlling herself, shouts that this is absurd. Unification has absolutely no meaning. It seems that throwing a ball would be extremely beneficial for Elkinis too, but he continues to refuse, speaking through sarcasm. The good side is that the young man will be able to protect his son and officially introduce him at the reception. The rumors will finally be put to rest. Still agreeing, the guy nods because this really is not a bad idea. If you don't take into account the fact that he doesn't have any trust in the Emperor, then everything is fine. The hero is not sure how exactly Denbane will use the child, who is still very small. The princess can't believe that the Duke is refusing. She missed the chance to hide the fanatics among the crowd of people without any suspicion. In order not to give up, the woman proposes to hold the Imtern debut and the ball at the same time. Thus the lady will receive glances and Renithus will live more peacefully. The young man remains silent as the atmosphere in the room continues to thicken, and then asks how old the princess is. The girl is nervous. About 80 years have passed since the two met, but it is not clear why the conversation about age came up. What is not polite is the lady's behavior. A man has no desire to insult his past years, but it's worth starting to behave accordingly. The man just thinks that his girlfriend is no longer at the age to surround himself with maturing young ladies like flowers from a flower bed. In addition to all this, the heroine is no longer at the age to interfere in the personal life of Imtern, who has just arrived from the provinces. The black soul is visible to the naked eye, which makes one feel uneasy, but the Duke sincerely feels sorry for her. The woman tries to calm down because in the end, no matter what the Duke says, she still has one more hidden trump card up her sleeve. In order not to interfere with the process, it is best to ask Lady Imtern because the opinion of the hero of the occasion will always be most important. The girl seems to be carried away in the other direction until she can't control herself. A voice in her head asks Adele to help convince the Duke. The brunette quickly realized that this was hypnosis again. I don't want to agree with her, but apparently this is a necessity that cannot be postponed. The maiden ventured to the lowest layer of the cave to catch Kunturna. To capture Uillian, you must follow her plan. As long as it seems to her that everyone is playing by her rules, victory will belong to another person. While telling Zephyr the conversation, the lady reminds him that the ball and the debut will be held together. Most likely, the event will be quite modest. Irene doesn't pay attention to details that don't matter, but a debut for a noblewoman is something special. I can't believe that the girl, because of her plan or ignorance, gave this technique to the princess, who will now ruin everything. Soman light is more suitable for Imtern's complexion, but Uillian can choose some orange. It seems as if the young man is looking forward to his debut even more than his daughter. The problem lies elsewhere. As noted earlier, Denbine is surprisingly obsessed with the ball and getting it done on time. The dragon is similar to the Duke in this sense because it is more than the usual desire to show off. Perhaps there is a more compelling reason. We can only speculate, but perhaps the lady is going to cast a new spell and perform the ceremony exactly that night. When Adele came face to face with the lady, no dark energy was emitted, so there is no point in saying so. She's definitely not a holy fortune teller. The blond man raises his head because he noticed a familiar bird. This is the symbol of the Altima Church, as is already known. Shirokarat arrived without any reason. The baby sat on the finger of the sorceress who greeted her, remaining with a smile. Birdie is happy to see her friend again after a long time. At first, the couple assumes that it is a parrot, but the animal screams that it is Shihanya who has taken possession of the body. Both freeze in surprise because they expected anything but definitely not this. The baby is glad to meet the master again, and the dragon too. Not much time has passed since the girl turned from a human into a deity, so for now she is still practicing. She borrowed the bird's body. Hanaya has become a demigod, which makes my heart flutter. The joy for a friend is incomparable to anything else. Irene can also be congratulated because she was born again. From the very moment when the master took away the spiritual sphere, the acquaintance did not leave faith in the best. Zephyr remembers that they promised to keep everything secret about the soul, but this did not happen. When you die, you need to tell all your secrets. The brunette grabs her friend and, hugging her, asks not to be so strict with her. The bird came to say hello, but the most important thing was to tell him something important. You cannot interfere in the world of people, but the situation should not worsen. Everything seems to be connected to what is happening in the estate, and this cannot be overlooked by simply being ignored. Hania can't tell you everything, but the most important thing to do is pay attention to the wounds. If you think about it this way, there were a lot of bandages on the princess's body covering up the blood. The girl has always been a dangerous creature. The condition worsened, and the danger began to increase over the last 8 years. This coincides with the time when the lady first told people about the prophecy. There are no coincidences. Hania would like to say more, but it seems she has almost reached her limit. If you stay on the ground a little longer, the body will have a hard time. The sorceress was glad to see each other, although the meeting did not last too long. The girl must remain healthy until the next meeting. We can only hope that in this life everyone will be able to come to the end that all the people around so strongly desire. This time Adele will take care of it. Hania has not changed at all in her nature because she will remain as persistent as she was before. Some of what was said haunts me, forcing me to think about it over and over again. For some reason, the princess sat with folded hands all this time and began to act only 8 years ago. Obviously, something unacceptable had happened. They both think so, and to confirm they need to find out as many details as possible. After everything is over, she can finally see the Duke and Renithus happy, and the girl herself will be calm. For now, the most important thing is the debut, because the purpose of the Lord's transformation is to make Adele an aristocrat. The man would never agree to host the debut in addition to the ball. No one will be able to stop you from building happiness. Carlo entered the room in the middle of a conversation. He agrees because the event should be left independent and on a larger scale. It's time to leave everything behind and start shining. A debut that takes place only once cannot be organized mediocrely. Not only Carlotta alone has a desire to spend the evening appropriately, but also many servants from the Duke's estate. It was not the man's personal intentions that led to this, but only the desire to express the common feelings experienced in the team. If the lady changes her mind, His Highness has ordered that no sums be spared to ensure that Adele is happy. Carlotte came back to the master. He made observations and noticed that there were no traces of the effect of hypnosis on the beauty. At breakfast, the man clearly saw the princess performing her insignificant trick. The lady's behavior looked like she was being psychologically pressured. It seems that the girl was pretending on purpose, which makes me think even more. The servant is also inclined to believe this assumption. Adele probably also noticed the princess's suspicious behavior. There is a feeling that the choice was determined by the desire to figure it out personally. Everyone around knows about the dark soul of the princess, and you don't even need to look closely. The lady knows that the gentleman is much stronger than that girl, but he does this for the sake of protection. Even such little things are already the same. The man asks about his girlfriend's plans for the afternoon, and apparently they are going to go to the city. Looks like they're heading towards Sefio. The couple stopped in front of a dilapidated house. It felt like this place had been left unattended for a long time. Zephyr watched the mansion for several days, but not a single living soul appeared there, as if there really was no one there. A painfully familiar voice is heard from behind. I turn around. The girl sees a thief of bracelets and in combination a dragon. Since it would be unbearably difficult for a weak human being to help the Lord alone, the young man agreed to follow them. The mansion seems quite large, so exploring it with a group will be much more convenient than alone. After knocking, no one answers. This house is teeming with dark energy, and there is not a single trace of a person, so it is clear that a spell has been cast. First, we need to take a closer look at the estate and then go inside. The boy freezes in fear after hearing this. The dragon cannot be afraid of this, but he is not going to hide his fear, which has not gone away. The Lord drags the guy forward to the door. The sorceress opened the door, which was not locked. Inside, everything turned out to be much worse than it seemed, because there were a whole bunch of servants lying on the floor. The situation is taking an extremely serious turn. Everyone passed out due to the energy, and when someone comes to their senses, they will have to find out what happened. The first woman who lies closest has no pulse. This means that they are all dead and someone worked on it. While the dragons squabble over where to go, the lady wonders what the cruel treatment is for. The fire is still burning due to the teeming dark force. It is extremely dark even during the day, and therefore a lantern will be a help. The painting depicts the Sefio family. They had 2 sons. The one who resembles the mother is the youngest, and the other is the eldest. The girl is worried that only the blonde man looks sad. There are rumors that the younger one graduated from military school with honors, and even received an officer rank. Nothing has been heard about the hero, but for now this is being left for later. The lady is about to start exploring the mansion and calls Ventus. The Spirit King quickly returned, saying that there was no one else on the first floor. Carlyle marvels at the ease of controlling the spirits. Lady Irene is still much more amazing. She could even do it with just her toes. The conversation is interrupted because there are 3 people on the second floor. One of them is alive, and the other 2 have already become zombies. The girl seriously suggests going to the lair of those who are not worth going to. The survivor remained, so a minute later, the trio is already standing in front of the door. The sorceress will call on an assistant again when the need arises. Behind the door, there are 2 terrible zombies who also happen to be Tefilo's spouses. Looks like they were late. To prevent the infected from escaping, you need to draw a circle of energy that will imprison them inside, thereby leaving them alone. Ignis formed stripes. The circle is made with the sacred flame of Ignis, so they will not be able to easily go beyond it. Everyone, including the servants and the family itself, fell, but it is not clear who arranged it. A dark-haired man emerges from the shadows saying that it was his doing. In front of the trio is the eldest son of the family, Daniel Chafilo, who smiles, saying that everything is beginning. There's something wrong with the guy's right hand. The guy used a piece of conturna and a lizard whose tail he attached instead of his own limb. Zephyr is horrified, but still asks why the creature forced the hero to do such a terrible thing to his family. The guy doesn't even consider disgusting, stingy people to be his family. The younger brother, whom they could boast to others, was rushed around almost all the time like a treasure, and Daniel was considered an empty place. On top of that, the couple opposed experiments with dark magic, and no help could be expected. The married couple was ashamed and scolded their son. One can accept the fact that due to their limitations, they were unable to realize the true power of the dragon, but they resisted their desires. Although there were 2 brothers in the family, only the elder one was not given any support, leaving him alone. In order to understand how magic works, the young man made them his guinea pigs with whom he played. What was done was right because, having a good budget, the family did not spend a penny on Daniel, even though he asked for it. The mother and father just had to treat their child normally before they were turned into terrible zombies. The man pretends to be offended and deprived, but in reality, no one infringed on the guy, and no one tried to harm him in any way. Zephyr is going to talk about what to do next, but the lady is not going to let the bastard go so easily, giving him a pardon. For sacrificial lambs to be presented to the mistress, the trio talks too much. It's time to end this. A person can have confidence only because he knows that he cannot be killed so easily. Yes, sir. The signs that were used in the detachment will also come in handy. The man orders with his hands to find the core of the enemy. The technique is called circle. This is a type of black magic that allows you to seal a person in obsidian. The body that gets there is gradually deprived of vital energy. There is only one way to dispel magic, and that is to break the stone. Although the magic will dissipate, the soul of the caster will also be destroyed, and the rest will not return to life. No matter how hard Adele tries, she is unable to forgive because the boy did such a terrible thing only out of greed. Ventus sneaks up to find out where the core is. Smiling, the brunette asks which of them should be sent to the next world first. But there is one way for this to happen in a friendly company. A woman refuses to die at the hands of such a loser who has achieved nothing. The girl acts like trash and pisses the boy off even more. He will do a favor and choose the most painful death. The core is hidden in that disgusting hand. Erin thought so. So she praises the spirit for its excellent work preparing to attack. The hand turns to fire as soon as the fight begins, and this causes the man to start screaming like a knife. The core of the circle is taken away. Daniel screams for the thing to be returned to him, and if there is even a scratch on it, things will only get worse. It's strange to say, but the beauty was going to not just scratch, but also grind the stone into powder. After what has been said, she squeezes in her hand something that is already scattered in the wind. Nothing could be done, so the desecrated land was destroyed. Getting rid of those corpses is possible only with the help of fire. Still, Zephyr sprinkled the bodies with water filled with the power of the world tree so that there would be no special difficulties on the way to the world. The youngest son, who graduated from military school with excellent grades, will take the post of officer. He will somehow cope with the restoration of the family on his own. The boy also received 300 million from the auction proceeds for the Curtain of Fire, so there is no need to worry. Money cannot replace family. The artifact was also left inside the estate so that the fire would consume it along with Safilo. The clan that will be restored will no longer be what it was before. The best solution was to discard the old image and start everything from the very beginning, despite the problems that arose. Carlyle noticed the little thing and took it with him. He thought that the girl had lost her, and therefore decided to capture her. The boy did not want to give away what he had purchased, calling Adele a savage. The Lord enters into a conversation to resolve everything faster. The boy could not stand and watch calmly as the flames devoured the bracelet, which was so dear. Zephyr unexpectedly speaks words of praise. The dragon spirit is felt even in this desire to protect the sparkling treasures, even when real chaos is happening, around which turns everything upside down. The two look more like 40, but already giving up, the girl notices that her friend likes the bracelet so much that it will simply continue to get in the way she gives the Veil of Fire. As a return favor, the efforts will be recognized by Carlyle himself. Even he, being a dragon, thinks that the maiden showed herself well. Lady Irene remains outstanding in any case. If she were in this house, she would instantly deal with the demon. The girl is annoyed by the constant mention of this very name. A familiar voice is heard from behind, interrupting the conversation. Everyone wants to know how His Highness ended up nearby. The man left the estate to deal with some business in the city, and then he saw the sacred flame of the Spirit King, which was visible from afar. The girl asks not to worry because the fire will not spread further. The young man turns out to be worried about something else, so he carefully asks if Adele is okay. Someone squealing is heard behind. The dragon is amazed that this is really the same warrior who looks the same as he did during the existence of the detachment. While the young man asks who is standing in front of him, the dragon continues to admire even a small part, saying that the voice is too cool too. The boy sees that very heavy load that lies on broad shoulders. The name of this load is coolness. The boy introduces his name. He is currently engaged in research focused on Aron's treks to Conturna Cave. A carriage is waiting nearby, so Imtern can return back to the palace with the Duke. She won't be uncomfortable, but nervousness will show. If suddenly a lady is nervous about what happened in the last meeting, she should not worry. Today the young man was simply worried because it was deep night outside. Zephyr grunts, and then abruptly sends the two off to their own good health. The dragon will stay behind to watch over the mansion just in case. Carlyle also stays, even if he is reluctant at first because he wants to talk more with Elkinas. It's strange that my friend agreed so easily. The man did not ask to be taken with him, as usually happens. The Lord extends his hand, which the beauty accepts while thanking her. Only a few days have passed, but anxiety still does not leave the consciousness, taking over more and more. It's all because of the Duke, who won't leave him alone. Previously, when a young man treated well, the justification was the benefit that both received. Now the acquaintance is infinitely kind without excuses. Friendliness has an extremely sweet taste, so even someone as undiscerning as Adele took notice of the behavior. The woman would like to understand the reason for kindness. Maybe the whole point is that she has a similar appearance to Aaron, and he sees a friend for whom he misses. If this is true, leaving everything as is not the best option. The problem lies with the beauty herself, because in recent days, her heart has been beating wildly next to him. The fact is that the duckling whom Aaron protected grew up imperceptibly, and now she herself has become the one who is protected from what is happening around her. What is happening? No longer gives rest going beyond the limits. It's all too complicated. Rinty calls his mother to talk about something, and she turns around with a smile on her face. The kid holds out a bouquet, saying that he found flowers that are perfect for Mrs. Adele. The daisies look absolutely wonderful. Rin is definitely a cutie. Instead of dwelling on strange feelings, it is better to focus on catching those who threaten the boy. The baby has grown again. He just thought that he wanted to become bigger, which is impossible. Last time this could actually happen due to the lifting of a spell that suppressed growth. Growing up only at will really looks extremely strange and makes you think about what is happening. If you think about it, Renithus's very existence is incredible in itself. The child wanted to talk normally. It seems that all this time it was difficult for him to communicate with people, but it seems that the matter was completely different. All this time, the ward enjoyed talking with the teacher, so he thought that he would like to discuss many other topics that could not get out of his head. The woman would also like to discuss everything in the world, but she doesn't understand why they suddenly started calling her a master. Ali said, and everything came together. The boy has only grown a little, but is already as smart as he should be. Not only has he grown physically, but he has also become smarter, for which we can congratulate him. The teacher is glad that the young man has grown up. Now everyone is convinced that the brunette can grow as long as needed, and nothing will stand in the way interfering with the process. The woman will finally be calm. She was glad to witness the growth and development of many of God's creatures, but this time everything was different. The depth of the feelings experienced cannot be compared with what is now going on in the lady's soul. She wants to congratulate Renithus again on his growth. Carlotte says that in Irene, even extremely wealthy aristocrats are not able to throw parties on their own whim. The girl does not immediately understand what exactly is meant. For each festival, it is prescribed to pay a fee which goes to the treasury. Although contributions are accepted as money, the payer has the right to designate the scope of further use of the amount paid. Usually, the final decision is made jointly with the headmaster of Strandfield Hall and the Merchants' Association, which represents the interests of the common people. The idea itself is not bad. In this way, it is possible to prevent wastage of money and help the common people. This policy is not bad even for an elf. To make an informed decision regarding the subsequent use of the funds paid, a good knowledge of the duchy is likely required. The girl could be worried because she doesn't know anything, but she shouldn't do that. Further information will be received from Mr. The woman knows that the man has a lot to do, but fortunately today he is free. They wish them a pleasant time. The Duke meets Adele, who is trying to control herself. Pointing to a chair, the young man suggests sitting down closer to start a conversation. It is immediately noticeable that Elkinas smells pleasant. The scent has notes of musk and lilies, which suits him very well. I want to continue thinking about it, but the heroine herself breaks off her thoughts. I don't want to think about that in front of a friend due to obsessive thoughts about the young man. The smell alone creates a mess in my head. The woman answers the question, assuring that nothing hurts her. A little earlier, the man was told the news that his son had grown noticeably. Apparently, due to the disappearance of the spell that prevented growing up, the body was able to grow and develop as much as it needed. It looks like it will take longer for the baby to reach his current age. Renithus should begin to obtain the necessary education. The boy is a quick learner, so he will definitely pick up a lot of things with ease. A man counts on Imtern since she is so positive. It's not a bad idea to make a woman a teacher. The child listens to the girl, and moreover, she has certain knowledge that is required in order to take care. The boy will be happy, but for now they will return to talking about the reception. Carlotte has probably already announced that each time a fee is collected from those who hold the ball. The man takes out a piece of paper with a number written on it, and on which all expenses are distributed. This is approximately what the princess will pay this time. The woman begins to panic because she will also make her debut at this ball. It would be worth borrowing from Zephyr, but then you would have to pay back in money for the rest of your life. Elkinas immediately understands what the beauty is thinking about, but he asks not to worry. She is visiting, so Pontiac will cover all expenses. A man cannot demand money from the daughter of his comrade. Smiling, the lady thanks for the help provided to her. Also, new guests will arrive very soon. Each of them will present a business for which they require support from the duchy and the Duke himself. After they talk about their business, Adele can choose what the fee money will be spent on, making it easier for both of them to spend money. Whatever decision the beauty makes, everyone will be grateful since it will benefit the city, so you shouldn't be so nervous. During the meeting, your friend will also be very close. He understands that support is the most important thing so far and makes the girl blush. Pilsen, who is a representative from the Merchants Association, arrived at the reception. He hopes for good work to be done. They are counting on him. The representative is already in place, which means that only the headmaster of Stranfield Hall and Princess Uillian remain, who are delayed. The director of the organization, organized by Jamil, is a strange person, but everything will be seen very soon. The man smiles, bowing his head as he enters. The guy was seen at the auction, so there are even more questions. I remember that his friend was his great-great-grandmother. I just can't get used to the idea that that same virgin gave birth to a child and became someone's relative, giving birth to another life. Half an hour passed. Pilsung is starting to get tired, so he gloomily asks when the princess will finally appear. Maybe she wants to get attention. Apparently, both people sitting at the table definitely do not have warm feelings for the imperial family. They are rather among those people who hate the king. The woman arrived saying she was late. Because of the girl, the meeting is a little delayed, so we need to get everything done before the end of time. The wounds do not heal for a very long time, and this is noticeable from afar. Stranfield will put forward the proposal first. They are thinking about expanding the project to support social security. Commoners do terrible things due to lack of livelihood. They put forward ideas about the need for their training for the purpose of secondary socialization. The brunette interjects, people who have already committed a crime will go through a little training, but it won't change anything. They will leave aside those whose re-education is not possible. It's better to immediately listen to what came to Denbine's mind because she knows much more. Dresses will be given to poor girls. Since the kingdom uses high-quality materials, there will be about 30 dresses. For people whose food supply is not enough even for tomorrow, there will be no benefit from such gifts that they take advantage of. The princess goes on the attack, saying that the sitting director is saying that the poor should wear vile and dirty clothes all their lives. Pilsen believes there is a high probability that the clothes will be resold. In this case, it is better to provide help in some other way, helping each of them in their best way. Virgo is still convinced that in this way they will help a lot, because they will invite the most beautiful ones to the ball as guests. If at a reception they attract the attention of some aristocrat and take the place of their mistress, they will no longer have to worry about their livelihood. Obviously, the princess proposes to wrap the ladies in beautiful wrappings and literally sell them. Denbine believes they are not capable of anything else given their lack of education. It's better to grab luck by the tail while you're young and beautiful, otherwise things can only get worse. Adele also wants to speak, so she interrupts her interlocutor. Baking bread can be included in the training. The essence of such education is the need to satisfy the need for small achievements. Most children in need of secondary socialization never had their own property and did not have the opportunity to share things. Jamil talked about what life is like for children from the slums who do not receive even basic protection, and it sounded terrible. From morning to evening, the guys just begged on the streets, and as a result faced only one terrible outcome which predetermined everything. The children themselves were eager to free themselves from a life that only made them suffer. The only thing they could do was go rob with a knife in their hands. The woman would like to be given a little more options. Firstly, working with soft textiles will make them feel better and become more psychologically stable. Since the job requires strict adherence to time limits, they will develop a sense of time. After baking bread, everyone will feel satisfied that they have achieved something. Through this experience, children will be able to naturally learn the rules of behavior in society and social norms. Having distributed free bread to the hungry, they will try to share the things they made with their own hands with other members of society. By selling the rest, everyone can experience how the economy works. The man smiles because at least someone has correctly understood the role of secondary socialization. He heard exactly the proposal that seemed the best. The girl smiles. She's glad she liked the idea. The cost of everything you need is small, so you can stay within your budget. The princess notices that Lady Imtern is more impudent than she seems at first glance. All the proposals put forward earlier were told to Denbine, but who would have thought that the girl would steal even this? The duke sitting nearby interrupts the princess's speech. Apparently, she hates it when someone steals her moments of fame, thereby getting more attention than others. They are not in the palace where Denbine plays the main role in the production, because here everyone has the right to choose. The woman lied to gain the attention of others. Hania left a clue, so the lady, as if by chance, can look at the wounds jumping up. Uillian wants to scream, but the lady puts her hand on her arm, asking her to calm down. Everything is happening through the fault of Imtern, and the other lady, of course, is not going to talk. The girl pulls her hand out and the bandages peel down a little, revealing a dark spot that can be seen from below. The skin is dark and rotten, and the blood is completely black. All of these are the hallmarks of those who sold their souls to the demon. The princess belongs to a group of fanatics. The brunette convinces herself in her head that the lady sitting next to her did not see anything and was simply nervous. She yells at her friend not to grab the bandages so harshly. The wounds will not open just because the bandage is loosened a little, and this is what both people sitting at the table say. The men don't understand what they're talking about, and on top of all this, they took the side of that girl. There is reason for the fuss. Usually the time allotted was enough for healing, but now no improvement is observed. Most likely the girl's wounds do not heal because Irene previously cleansed the estate with divine forces that got in her way. The wounds will not heal until the lady leaves the place in which she is not comfortable. Not only will they not heal, but they will undoubtedly begin to rot even more as time passes. The meeting ended earlier than expected, and now they would finally be free. All thanks to Her Highness, who tried to steal other people's ideas. After the incident, the lady stared at some wound and practically did not take part in the meeting, so she managed to finish without wasting any time. Impudence is obviously common in the family by inheritance. The man laughs, saying that such a thing does not exist, but the great-grandson Jamil says that just by looking at the girl's behavior, everything seems possible. Imtern came out first. The atmosphere was not the best, but fortunately, the secondary socialization training would proceed as proposed, so there was no point in worrying. Adele is interrupted in her thoughts by the voice of the Duke, who catches up with her. He noticed that the beauty was doing a wonderful job without any prompting. The woman was worried, so she suggested the first thing that came to mind. The man noticed that they seemed to know the director of Stranfield well. Even on the way out, the couple exchanged jokes. They don't know each other well, but most likely they just met a little before. The young man asks what kind of relationship the couple has, but he is cut off by asking a response question about interest. Thus, they are interested in when a person makes a mistake. The brunette doesn't know what the problem is. Perhaps she should mention the time of the meeting too, but everything happened on the black market. Noticing that the Duke is a little behind the girl, asks why he is not coming. It turns out that I managed to remember something urgent, so it would be better to leave in order to get everything done. The girl, of course, nods in agreement, because she knows that it is easier for her when they are not together. Nervousness around a person has not disappeared anywhere, and therefore you just have to come to terms with it. It's sad that she's glad the guy is leaving. Returning back, the young man says that he has changed his mind and takes his girlfriend to the room. The man looks like a swallow which hisses as soon as you touch it. Do not forget about the complex character of the young man. If you think about it like that, it's quite nice. The girl can't hold back and laughs a little at what she hears. The next day, the lady immediately began spying on Denbine, sending Eri to her. This should have helped to be confident in your evidence. As a result, the heroine learned that the princess had sat down with someone in the imperial carriage and went to the Tilson Hotel where the meeting was to be held. The girl has not gone out into the world for several days, remaining inside. Apparently, she eventually made it out of the estate because there was no improvement in her wounds. She needs to recover in any way possible before the ball, which will begin very soon. We need to discuss the condition of the future queen with an acquaintance. Lately, just looking at a man makes your heart skip a beat, so it's extremely difficult to start a conversation. My thoughts are again interrupted by the maid knocking on the door. We'll have to go out very soon, so the lady is going to help with the preparations. After the meeting, a detailed training plan was drawn up. Not only the director, but also Adele takes part in the program. The socialization training, which included bread baking, was easier than it seemed. First of all, Derek prepared everything at the highest level. The participants who responded to the offer became the most courageous that day. During baking, the faces of those gathered reflected different types of feelings. Excitement, anxiety, and pleasure were the most important of them, and it is impossible to argue with that. Each person is unique, so those gathered were different from each other. However, they were united by only one thing, the very common thing that they had to do. This is nothing more than a desire to achieve a better future on their own, and one can only hope that through opportunity and sincere desire, it will lead to a brighter life that they will build. Finally, we managed to safely reach the last stage that remained to be completed. The young man smiles, saying that he did nothing at all. The overall effort was the most important thing. The first princess of the empire has arrived, and is of course announced. The girl does not immediately believe her ears, because she does not understand why the beauty would come to this area in which there is nothing to catch. The virgin, as usual, is dressed in a fluffy dress. She immediately grumbles that someone even got it into their head to organize everything in such a cesspool. The heroine does not try to intervene in the conversation because she is interested in something interesting. The wounds that were on the body had almost healed. Derek never mentioned Her Majesty's arrival for practice. What happened was quite expected. At social events, the maiden is usually shown last. This is only to the benefit of Imtern, because now she can watch her friend without being followed. Some screams are heard behind. The two young ladies ask not to touch them with their hands, and so the man moves away while continuing to ask for forgiveness. Another girl screams for the others to take what they give and get lost. It is not clear why such persons volunteered to distribute since they behave inappropriately. It seems that the role turned out to be the simplest. Even if they participate just for show, it doesn't change anything. They are ruining the event that everyone has worked so hard to prepare. Grandpa takes the bread and leaves. He came for free food, although his legs were in a similar condition. Why do you want to ask, what hole did you come out of? According to the aristocrats, they should have shown more desire to work in their youth. The woman clenches her fist with all her might. She tries to restrain herself, but the truth is already at the very limit without realizing it. It will only get worse if you don't take your anger out. Lady Imtern stood next to Derek, but after 10 minutes she disappeared because she resolutely headed towards those standing behind the counters. The heroine is aware of the lack of manners in girls, but did not think that this would be permissible in front of many people. They have no right to talk about obscenity. At first glance, such a word bypasses noble ladies who cannot make their claims simply out of desire. People don't beg them for food or force them out into the streets. Both were lucky to have parents who helped and did not force them to suffer from hunger. They are no longer any different from those present. It's not clear what amuses me so much. A smile appears on your face. Women believe that they are different by birth, because unlike any rabble, they are noble. Other people are usually called noble. This word is applied to a young clergywoman who happily shares her share with those who are more hungry. This can be said about the ranger who risks her life to save the nobles who mocked her. Bersua can be called noble, who despite his injuries stands on the front line in order to avenge his father and his people who did not deserve the terrible treatment. You can take an example of a dragon who willingly gives his last breath for the lives of creatures he hates, who at some point became important to him. Those who sacrifice themselves to protect someone are the ones who truly deserve trust and praise. The girl realizes that she misses her friends very much. The girls who were silent almost the entire speech still begin to speak out against it. Some provincial girl continues to rant about what is right and what is wrong. They demand that the princess withdraw the invitation. If everything really is as it is, then the heroine herself refuses to attend the reception built on complete deception which makes no sense to exist. In fact, I feel incredibly sorry for the time they spent arguing. Instead of what happened, they should have shared at least one more loaf of bread with the others. The duke who appeared from behind throws a cloak over the maiden, asking her to stop there. She should breathe deeper to calm down while the man sorts everything out himself. Turning to the princess, the young man decisively says that he is already tired of her antics, which constantly interfere with others who do not even intend to swear. Now the situation has taken a completely different turn. The woman was making a fuss by insisting on directing the event. If a lady so wanted to become the boss, she has no right to treat her subjects with disdain. The woman smiles awkwardly, saying that there was just a misunderstanding which in fact did not mean anything. She regrets what happened. The words don't ring true when you look at the faces of those around you who look scared and exhausted. Lady Imtern to some extent offended noble honor. Since the girl's actions against injustice can only be described as fortitude, the man dares to judge that they have nothing to do with the accusation of insulting the imperial family. The princess must agree to be removed from her position. If she says something, then the young man asks to excuse them and then picks up the beauty in his arms. The archduke takes the beauty away, asking her not to twitch so as not to accidentally fall. The girl standing behind clenches her teeth, which are creaking, thinking about what kind of trash the girl is. Already moving a little further, the young man asks to take off his cloak since no one else is looking in their direction. Virgo thanks His Majesty for his help. Elkinas carefully looks at her friend and then turns away, noticing that she is behaving really strangely, which even makes you want to laugh. The tear-stained face seems cute, so the brunette frowns at what she hears. The girl is silent and does not know what to say in her defense. The man asks to stop looking at him with such a focused gaze. With her head down, the lady is distracted. My heart beat faster when he jokingly called her cute, but he had to try to pull himself together so as not to embarrass himself even more. The young man sighs to calm down and then thanks his friend. For the sake of him and his subjects, she was sincerely angry and cried in public to show the princess and her girls what they were doing wrong. The couple follows to the carriage. The lady is probably very tired, so the best solution would be to return to the estate. While protesting, the heroine reminds her of how much she has to do, but there is no need to worry about it. The man leans down, kissing the back of the lady's hand. As Irene's representative, he offers his official thanks for what was accomplished and for all the effort that was invested. Today the girl really acted bravely, and this makes me want to praise her to the last. The heroine asks not to say anything because in fact she was only fulfilling her direct duties. Derek, standing around the corner, smiles slightly. Noble is the name of a ranger who risks her life for the nobles, and these words are not forgotten. She still makes everyone blush. The man had previously told his friend not to read out such serious speeches during verbal altercations. Only after a while does it become clear that what was said sounded strange. It seems that the young man has known the lady for a very long time. Moreover, memories of the old days when battles with Kuntern were fought begin to float in my head. His head is splitting, so the hero sits on the ground clutching his head. It is not clear how he knows that the owner of the memories is Jamil Denbine. While everything was plunging into chaos, the body and memories kept repeating only one thing. Now it has become clear that Derek is the same lady who was on the battlefield, although it is not clear how this is even possible. Discussions are already in full swing in senior circles. Probably everyone has already heard about the story that is on everyone's lips. The smug princess got what she deserved. The woman was duly shamed in front of everyone else. They say that Lady Imtern, who is visiting the Duke's estate, opposed her. There are many rumors about the baby. They say that she and Elkinas have an illegitimate child that they have to take care of while hiding it from everyone else. Whatever the gossip, the girl supports Adele. The interlocutors are surprised that the lady supports someone whom she has never seen. The enemy of the enemy is already a friend, so a smile appears on the face. The aristocrats supporting the princess and the imperial house were like an eyesore due to their outstanding behavior, which was constantly annoying. Finally, there was a person who could be supported, like the noble Lady Irene. The girl hasn't been so inspired by what's happening for a long time, so she can't wait for more details to be known. As everyone knows, 2 celebrations will soon begin simultaneously at the Duke's mansion. The nobles are eagerly awaiting the start of the events. One of them is the Uillian ball, and the second is the debut of Imtern. One must be curious to see how entertaining the debut of the lady who crushed the girl and her maidens will be. Virgo, in fact, wants everything to end as best as possible, so she will achieve her goal and come to that event to understand what is going on there. Adele examines herself in the mirror. They picked out a simply wonderful dress and hairstyle for her, which go together perfectly. The maids cannot contain their joy, which seems to come out even better than that of the lady herself. They shower her with compliments, saying that the lady's outfit suits her incredibly well and how wonderful she is. The count enters the room and is immediately struck by the dress. Still, it was not in vain that they received training as Irene's masters. Even if we take into account all the techniques that have been performed so far, the lady will turn out to be the most beautiful. Renithus also came, and so the girl decides to ask him what she looks like. Turning away, the boy says that all this was done differently than it should be, so it looks a little strange. The old man reminds the boy that he must control how he behaves. At such moments, they usually praise the attire and give compliments. The kid wanted to say that all this was unusual, but in fact, he meant that the lady was even more beautiful than usual. Now, the boy became even more shy after he grew up a little. Previously, the young man would have said that everything looked terribly wonderful while jumping up and down with joy. The current serious future Duke is also incredibly sweet, but behaves differently. The young man is silent, but then asks the very question that worries him a little. It seems the girl is marrying his father. Zephyr begins to laugh while the young man asks why this is not true. The woman is making her debut today and will be presented in front of many people for the first time, which is why she dressed so beautifully. You need to impress others. As a result, it was decided that at today's reception, the boy's existence would be officially announced in order to prevent rumors from spreading further. The woman is a little worried, but since Elkinas is nearby, there shouldn't be any problems. The heroine will be in the Violet Hall, which is not far from the central one. As soon as the ward finishes with greetings, he must come to see each other. The boy stands with his eyes wide open, but after silence, he nods that he is being asked to make a promise. He carefully clasps his little fingers together with Adele, who continues to smile. The girl goes outside with Zephyr. She tried to be calm, but she couldn't do what she wanted because now she was very worried the lady will handle everything perfectly. Since the reception is being held at the same time as the princess ball, there won't even be 30 people who want to come to the debut. This is fine.